I was in a tank regiment.
Oh, wait,
Yeah.
which regiment?
The King's Royal Hussars.
So the King Royal Hussars.
I remember crying to myself thinking, I want to get out of this country. I've lost one of my good mates and now I've just lost this little boy. It's probably my turn next. We thought it was going to be a few hours. It became a few days. And then all of a sudden we got hit by pirates. So yeah, Antarctic Odyssey 2025 is a pioneering expedition to attempt to climb at least one, hopefully more, mountains that nobody's ever touched before. Minus 44 this morning at the South Pole, minus 62 with wind chill.
40, minus 62. Welcome back to The Good, the Bad and the Beast. Today's guest has faced pirates, war zones and the most extreme environments on the planet. He's a former soldier turned adventurer, author and humanitarian. He's run through war-torn countries, rode solo through some of the most dangerous waters on the planet and raised millions for children's education. Please welcome to the podcast, Jordan Wylie. How are you, sir?
Thank you very much, sir. Pleasure to meet you.
I forgot to say you MBE. I missed that off your name. Jordan Wylie MBE. Is that the member of the British Empire?
It certainly is, yeah. Yeah, thank you.
MBE. It's not very often I get an MBE on the podcast, but we're amongst royalty.
I don't know about that, but it's a privilege to be here.
Oh, thank you. Where have you come up from?
I've come from down near Winchester. I'm from Blackpool originally, as you see. I'm a northerner, but I'm living down south these days.
What? Right, so Blackpool, I mean, we'll get on to that. Winchester, what's down there? Family? Or?
Winchester, yeah, family. I was in the military for 10 years, and then when I left, I'd made a daughter down south. So
you made a daughter, so you moved close to your daughter.
So I stayed down where my daughter is, yeah.
Brilliant. Military, where were you?
I was in a place called Tidworth. Actually, the military link is quite good for you because I was in a tank regiment.
Oh, wait,
Yeah.
which regiment?
The King's Royal Hussars.
So the King Royal Hussars, I have a friend who's in the King Royal Hussars, Ashchester's. A mate, he was in my year at school, good lad. And he joined the army, I think 16, 17, maybe 18. Brilliant. But yeah, I think he's still in there.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. I've been out quite a long time now.
Yeah. I was at Tidsworth, Swansea, at Swanson, is it, the camp?
There is, that's just down there, yeah.
Yeah, I was at the camp where all the tanks are, all the bulldogs and the Challengers.
Yeah.
Massive, isn't it?
Yeah, huge. Because it's right on Salisbury Plain, which is obviously the big training area for tanks in the UK.
Yeah.
Which is good fun. I spent 10 years in a tank, basically.
Brilliant. So you were a tank driver or an engineer or what?
I was a driver, a gunner, an operator. So I did all the different jobs on a tank over my career, yeah.
If you're a driver of the tank, you're in charge of the tank, aren't you?
No, so actually the opposite. You're the newest member of the tank as the driver, which is a bit weird, isn't it?
Wow, okay.
Yeah, so if you're like a new boy who's 17, he's just got his driving license, typically in a tank regiment, your job will be driving the tank. So you're the lowest rank, really.
You're the lowest rank if you're the driver.
Yeah, lowest but most important, bizarrely.
Yeah. So who looks after the tank then? Who maintains it?
So the driver is generally anything that breaks on it. He's mechanically he's going to be trying to fix it.
Yes.
But then, so when you've been a driver, your next job would be a gunner. So that's obviously the guy who's firing the gun. Mm-hmm. And people never believe me, but when you're shooting the gun on a tank, the main armament, 120 millimeter on a Challenger 2.
Yeah.
It's the same control as a PlayStation pad.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Literally the same, and you're looking through a screen and you send your laser out at your target, and then when you're happy, you fire your button,
Brilliant.
And then when you've done that, you've got the next job in the tank, which would be what we call the operator or the loader. So the big bullets, for a better word.
Yeah.
He's putting them in so the gunner can shoot them. But he's also actually probably got arguably the equal most important job because he's responsible for making the brews and the dinner.
The brews and the dinner.
Yeah.
Oh, so right, okay. So he's T-boy as well.
So he's T-boy as well, yeah.
Loading the cannon.
T-boy, and doing the radios.
Yeah. So how many people?
Four.
What tank were you in? A Challenger?
Challenger 2, yeah.
So there's four.
And then your
four-man
commander,
tank.
who's ultimately got the full responsibility.
And he's on top of the
He's
tank,
on top of his head popping
So there's
out.
5 people.
No, 4. So driver, gunner, operator, also known as the loader.
Yeah.
And then the commander.
Yeah, wow. And what do you do? All wear the headsets and talk to
all
each other?
talk. But obviously 3 of them are in the turret, so they're spinning round.
Yes.
And the driver's on his own in the hull. So the driver's always facing in the direction of travel, sort of thing, and the gun's spinning round.
Yeah, nice.
And he's also got the comfiest seat in the house because he's generally lying down with his 2 sticks through a periscope.
It's crazy. I mean, I've got the Abbott.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, amazing.
I think the same chassis as the Bulldog tanks.
Yeah, yeah.
And you sit in it and put the hatches down. I don't know how the fuck you guys drive them things.
It's not comfortable. It's not nice.
Not comfortable. And also, like, you can't fucking see anything.
No.
All you can see is a little box in front of you. You are literally at the mercy of whoever's on top.
Literally.
Telling you that there's a tree there, there's a car there, there's a person there.
And the same when you're in a conflict zone, you know, driving a tank in somewhere like Iraq, you're literally not only, like you say, you can't see much and you're relying completely on that, but there's people trying to kill you at the same time.
Yeah. You got bullets dinging off the fucking tank as you're fucking trying to listen and see what's going on. Yeah, geez, man, that's dead interesting. So the Abbott would be a similar man size, like 3-4 people.
Yeah, I'm not too sure in terms of what the crew is on. I'm not familiar with it, but yeah, generally in a tank is 3 or 4, but then you've got lots of things like armored personnel carriers. There's the warriors that the infantry have, where that you can fit 6 or 7 people in the back, dismounting troops and things.
Yeah. How heavy are the Challenger tanks?
About 62 ton.
62. That's unladen, is it?
Yeah, and then you can put on additional armour when you're going into battle and things.
Yeah.
But yeah, generally about 62 ton and about 5 million quid.
62 ton. Fuck my life.
Of death,
basically. Yeah. How thick's the steel on that? Like 2 inch, 3 inch?
Yeah, more, I think.
More?
Yeah. I've been out that long. I should know all this stuff, but no, it's been 16
it's a piece
years.
of kit. Like, if you were to see one on the road, it would take up the whole road.
Yeah, literally, yeah. And if you go down to places like Bovington, where they train to be a tank crewman, it's quite surreal, because you'd be driving down, or pedaling along on your bicycle or whatever, and there's like just tanks driving past you, and the big sort of give way signs, be aware there's tanks here.
I've seen it when I was going Tidsworth. It was only 2 weeks ago. I was down there, and there's literally, as you drive through this country lane, it's like warning, tank crossing, and you've got a picture of a fucking great big tank, and you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, literally.
And they were saying they drive them on the roads just to get them from like base A to base B.
Yeah, literally,
kind of thing.
Yeah, it's. I've always like, they're funny, them signs, because when you go around the world to different places, I love weird road signs, and that's obviously one of them, tanks crossing.
Yeah.
And I always remember when I was in the military in Northern Ireland and down in South Armagh on the border, where a lot of the IRA attacks used to take place. They used to have be aware of the sniper, and it was a road sign, but with a sniper on it.
Really?
Yeah, and I used to be like shitting yourself as a young 18-year-old.
I think the worst we get up here is a duck warning sign. I don't know, like you're going through a bit of a forest area, like warning ducks crossing.
Yeah.
Maybe a deer. But yeah, no, tanks and snipers, not so much around Stoke.
No. Get a few in Blackpool.
I can imagine, jeez. Well, that's cool then. So you're in the military for 10 years?
Yeah, straight from 16, straight from school. I was terrible at school, I was often in trouble, to be honest, and didn't do well, no qualifications at school, and prospects were quite bleak. So, one of the things that a lot of people from, I guess, sort of working class towns, council estates, you end up going towards the military. It's a great escape, really.
So how old were you when you joined 16?
Yeah, signed up at 16 and then was, in my unit by the time I was 17.
Wow, okay. So driving tanks pretty much straight away?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Any conflict?
Yeah.
In the tank?
I went to Iraq, but my job was mainly in intelligence, and I did a little bit of tanks driving and operating when I was needed, but generally not so much operational experience on a tank.
So you never fired a tank in war?
Never in a war. I've never pulled a trigger. I've pulled a trigger in war, but not in a tank.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, but it is even on the ranges down in the UK, when you pull that trigger, the villages shake. It's insane.
Yeah.
And it is a buzz. It's a real adrenaline rush. But no, I've never pulled the trigger in a conflict zone on a tank anyway.
Good. What's the range on them Challenger 2s?
Oh, we're talking kilometres. We're not.
Well, the Abbott I've got is, if you can see it, you can pretty much
definitely
shoot it. So mine's accurate to 11 miles.
Oh wow.
So the Challenger's got to be there or thereabouts.
It's got to be somewhere up there. Yeah, I don't know, but I'll get a lot of abuse for not knowing that as well when people listen to this from my regiment.
I literally just took a call just before this, because I'm applying for my Class 1 firearms so I can get the cannon on my tank live.
Really?
and take it to fire ranges and blow shit
Nothing
up.
ever surprises me with you.
No, they fire the howitzer shells.
Yeah.
The
old school.
Yeah, and I've got some priced up. Get a shell for about $2.5 grand.
So it is.
Yeah, so I'm gonna maybe get a few and just keep them in the basement, ready
Ready when it all kicks off.
When the war fucking kicks off. Yeah. I always ask my guests to bring in a piece of the beast, and hopefully somebody reminded you. Did you?
Yeah.
Like an artifact or a picture?
Yeah, well, it's quite relevant actually to what we're talking about. I brought these in to show you, Eddie. I'll let you. They're quite special to me.
Just handed me a velvet case, and I'm going to assume it's medals. It is.
Yeah.
All right, those listening in, it is a set of 4 medals. It says on them, for guarding the Empire. And then we've got 3 with Queen Elizabeth, and is that King Charles? Yeah, brilliant. So 4 medals. And what were these presented to you during your service?
It's a two in service and 2 after service.
After service as
a civilian in more recent years.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So tell me about each one. What's the first one then?
Yeah. Well, actually, I'll tell them in a different order because I got that one first. The sort of, this is called the General Service Medal. So that was for serving on operations in Northern Ireland as a soldier. And I didn't do anything prolific. It was a pretty standard tour as a soldier. But I think all the medals tell a different chapter of my life, because when I got that, I was 18, so I was still learning the trade. I was a pretty average soldier at best. I weren't in the special forces. I weren't a super soldier by any means. But that was probably where I started having to grow up from being that naughty kid from Blackpool, always in trouble with the police, terrible at school. All of a sudden, people shouting at me and, you're using a rifle and what have you. So it represents, I guess, a period of growth in my life where I turned from a boy to a man, I suppose, in many ways.
A maturity medal.
Yeah, I think so. I think it probably was. That was a good way of describing it. And then the next one, the sort of with the yellow ribbon, that was for tours of Iraq. So I think for me, that was probably represents resilience and, going to war and then coming back with friends who you'd grown up, or you'd gone through training with and losing, heroes, in fact. That was probably where you learn a lot about yourself, about life, about, how fragile life is and how quickly it can be taken away from you. And I think that's important because that's probably a reflection of why I live like I do today and try to live every day. It's my last go to these weird, wacky places around the world without being scared of that, because I think it's a privilege to be alive when you've seen death so closely and you've lost friends. The red one on the end there, nice sort of pretty one there is an MBE. That's what you get presented when you get an MBE, which is that was for charity work. We built a school on the Horn of Africa I made a promise basically to a little kid, and for 5 years I fundraised £500,000 to build a school. And then the King Charles presented me that on his first honours list. And this one is for the King's Coronation Medal. So it was given to the military and the cadet forces. I'm a volunteer. I'm the national ambassador for Army Cadets. So I spend most of my spare time trying to help kids who are like me, trying to sort of keep them on the straight and narrow, teach them a bit about the values of life. And, maybe those who aren't doing great at school, I try to help them and guide them and hopefully be a good role model in some way, shape or form.
Of those 4 medals there, I'm sure they all mean a lot to you, but which one would you say you're most proud of?
Do you know, weirdly, probably the one working with cadets and kids, because it's a big part of my purpose in life. And it's actually the one that people in the military and people who are issued medals, some people would say that's a freebie because you get issued that for basically having served 5 years service. If you was in the military when the coronation took place, or you was in the cadet forces, you basically automatically get given that. So some people would say it's the easiest one to get, and it's a bit of a freebie, you might say. But for me, actually, it represents all those Tuesday and Thursday nights that I still do. Every weekend I take kids out on the mountains. So even though it's probably more prolific, the other ones, for me, that one, where I am in my life today, is the most important because it's
the most rewarding.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, rewarding and fulfilling. I think fulfillment is a big thing for me, because I think, like you go through life and you have these great opportunities, but sometimes you can be successful, but maybe unfulfilled. And it's quite an empty place, that when you've I often think of materialism, you know, you do well in life, you get nicer houses, nicer cars, but actually you can still be quite empty if you haven't got a purpose.
Yeah, you can have all that, look in the mirror and think, fuck, my life's shit.
Yeah, absolutely. And almost that's like the ultimate failure, isn't it? Even though to the outside world, they think you've been incredibly successful.
Yeah. Contentness is a big thing in life. If you can have everything in the world, if you're not content, it's almost worthless. You know?
Yeah,
if you're always
I agree
wanting
completely.
and needing more.
Yeah, and the chase never ends if you're chasing. It never ends. It doesn't, you know, world records, world first, whatever. You always want more if that's your mentality.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a slippery slope.
It is a very slippery slope. And you have to know when to draw the line and what have goals and know what you want to achieve and what fulfills your life. And then when you've sort of filled it up or you know what's fulfilling that, you keep down that avenue. So your avenue is giving back.
It is, but particularly with young people who need a bit of direction in life. I think the world is full of untapped potential. I think there's so many amazing young people out there who don't go and achieve whatever it is because one, maybe they don't believe in themselves. Two, they're not given the opportunity to go and thrive and showcase whatever talent they've got. And I really believe that in this day and age now, there's a lot of people, especially, you know, you'll know better than me on social media, that are catapulted to fame overnight in these crazy TV shows, and they're not very inspiring at all. And but unfortunately for the world, they're what the young people see as the role models. They're the influencers, the celebrities, and people want to be like them. And I just think if you've got some sort of profile, do something good with it. Help somebody or support somebody or try and inspire people or educate them. You do with a podcast. You know, you bring on interesting people with different stories and hopefully people can take something from the lessons that they share. I listening to lots of your podcasts this morning on the way up and there were some great little golden nuggets that different people had come out with, little life lessons. And I think you're using your platform to do something positive.
Yeah.
You're not just trying to sell whatever it is someone's paying you to sell.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Win Love Island, and then you're selling your own T-shirt range and
literally
tobacco products and whatever else.
And fair play to that, but use it, do some good as well.
Have some purpose.
Yeah, have some purpose behind it.
So is that the Boy Scouts? You know, like when you go Cubs and stuff. Is that the same sort of
No,
thing?
it's a similar thing. So yeah, we have the cadets and then we have like the scouts and things. The difference being that if you're in the cadets, that's sponsored by the MOD. So cadets wear a military uniform. They're not going in the military. They don't have to go in the military, but they wear a military uniform and we use leadership skills, communication skills, teamwork, all the things that the military would teach a young person. Except for having to kill someone.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. And you do that at like a community centre?
Yeah, all across the UK. So I'm a national ambassador. So I go around all the different cadets in the UK, and I try and whether I'm talking to them or taking them on expeditions or just trying to give back. But not only me, there's thousands of people like me who do a lot more than me, and they're for me the people who are the role models in society who are doing something. They do a day's work in whatever the job is, and then they go and spend 2 or 3 hours each night trying to help young people. And that for me, I salute that. It's commendable.
Who are the kids you work with? Are these normal kids? Are these kids that have been in trouble? Or
no, all different, all range. We have like what's called the combined cadet force. So that's cadet forces that are in schools. So generally, we're seeing it a lot more in the normal schools now, but for many years it would have been in, the posh school, so to speak. But certainly not like the school that I went to. And then in the communities, though, where I think it has the biggest impact in communities, on those sort of areas of deprivation and poverty, council estates where there's a little hut and you'll see cadets turning up. And it's amazing because a lot of research has been done to show that where there's a cadet detachment, there's lower crime rates. Because kids have got somewhere to go. They've got a sense of belonging. There's people who are less obesity. There's less pressure on the healthcare system. There's less judicial pressure on, there's so many benefits to having a little cadet detachment in a village because all of a sudden people aren't getting into gangs. They're not, pulling out
knives. Got something to do.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Hanging about doing naughty shit.
Exactly that.
And then the MBE one for charitable work, and you mentioned a kid from Africa. You promised a child from Africa you would build him a school. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So when I was in the military, I was obviously we see some pretty horrific things in the military, especially losing friends on operations. I was always able to process that. A lot of people have a lot of challenges with that, as you'd understand, and appreciate and respect. But for me, it wasn't my friends losing my friends in conflict, it was obviously we grieve that, and I think about that every day. But for me, what I think about when I go to sleep every night is the kids that was injured, hurt, killed, maimed, and I found that quite hard, because I think children are in a war zone the ultimate victims of a conflict. Because as a soldier, we've chosen to, whether we injured, killed, or whatever. Most soldiers would hold their hand up and say, I chose to join the army, the Marines, or whatever. And you almost take that's part and parcel that you might have to pay the price one day. But when you see kids who've not chose to be there, they've just been unlucky in the lottery of life because they've been born there. Yeah. I don't know. There's something that doesn't sit right with me about that. And I've travelled around the world to different war zones, and I've met kids. I remember I was in Syria a few years ago. A bomb's gone off a few miles away, and we're on the deck hiding under cars, and kids are just still playing football because it's their normal. And that's just not right, is it?
Yeah.
It's they've become so almost
desensitized.
Yeah, desensitized is a word, to it. Anyway, I was on a patrol in Iraq many years ago, 2005, and we were on this particular operation, and I come across a group of children. One of these group of children had inadvertently stepped on a roadside bomb. Okay. Tragically lost his leg. And unfortunately, he had what we would call a catastrophic bleed. He hemorrhaged a lot of blood, and he lost his life, this little boy. And it was the first time in my life I realised sort of, bloody hell, I thought maybe it was quite challenging back in Blackpool. I had a gift of a childhood compared to these kids. Because it's all relative. You only know what you know, don't you? Yeah. But actually, there's a lot of kids in the world that will never go to school. And it took me right back to thinking about my youth, thinking, even though I was terrible at school and always naughty, in trouble, detentions or whatever, I actually had the chance though. And I never realised that until I was about 20 on this operational tour where there was no school for kids to go to. And I remember when we'd lost this little boy, we were driving back to camp, and I said to my interpreter at the time, this local Iraqi guy, I said, Mohammed, why were these kids not at school? Why were they playing next to this busy road? Then that wouldn't have happened. And he grabbed me round the neck, my own interpreter, and he was disgusted with me, and he said, Jordan, there is no school here. He's a lot more aggressive than that, what he said, but he was basically saying it's not like where you come from. If there was a school, it'd be a long way away from here, and they wouldn't be able to afford to go to school. And it was the first time in my life I realised I'm pretty lucky, actually. And I went back to my camp, to my tent that night in Iraq, and I remember it was quite an emotional week because we'd lost a good friend in the days before, a good friend of mine called Brackenbury. And then this had happened. We'd lost this little boy. And I remember having a little cry in my pillow. And you wouldn't want to show anyone that at the time because, you're a soldier, you're on the ground, frontline soldier. And I was a sort of a team leader, if you like. And I didn't want to show anyone that I was crying because I thought that's like a weakness in that day and age. It's a bit more acceptable now, and rightly so. But I remember crying to myself thinking, I want to get out of this country. I've lost one of my good mates, and now I've just lost this little boy. It's probably my turn next. And I made a promise to myself that day that one day, if I was ever in like the fortunate position in life, when I got out the army, I'd come back and try and help some of these kids.
In the area that you
were in. I didn't even know, to be honest, what that promise looked like. I just thought I'd love to be able to come back and support some of these kids that I'd met on my travels in the military. And then fast forward 15 years, I was doing my adventures around the world, doing expeditions and things. And I'd always go and see, if I was in a different country, I'd always go and see the local refugee camp or the local schools just to see what the kids were up to. And I was doing this rowing expedition in 2018, 2019, and in a place called Djibouti on the Horn of Africa, which is this tiny little country next to Somalia. And I met this little boy, and typically I would, like you do if you go and speak to kids, what do you want to do when you're older, and ask all the usual questions. And the little boy just explained that he wanted to go to school one day. He'd lost his family in Somalia, this little 7-year-old boy. And he was at this refugee camp, and he just told us that his sisters went to school and he would love to be able to go to school and maybe even be a teacher one day. Lovely little kid, big smile, enthusiastic. And when he told me that, it just took me right back to that little boy that we'd lost in Iraq. And I thought, I can help this kid. And it was like, I'm not even religious, but it was like the world had presented me this opportunity to help this little kid who just told me. And I don't know what came over me, and I just said, I'm going to build a school here and I'm going to do my best to help you go to school one day. And I literally spent 5 years trying to fundraise $500,000 to build this school. And I went around the UK convincing every school here to get behind it, do some fundraising with us. And then 5 years later, we opened a school for 250 kids. We funded it fully. We cut the ribbon, give them all school uniforms, and now that school's thriving out there. And it was the first ever primary school in that part of the world. So that was probably, alongside being a dad to my daughter, that's probably the greatest thing that I'll ever do in my life. And I go back there every year and I take teachers out there now to go and see the impact you can have, because it all started with a little promise. Because I think promises are very loose these days. People promise you things all the time, but there aren't I don't think many action takers in the world. People always talk a good game. There's millions of out there. They'll promise you the world and they'll never deliver. And I think if you really are accountable to a promise, and it's such a powerful thing, because that drove me to do so many things, to go on adventures, to raise money. And every time things got really tough or really shitty, I just think of that little boy that I'd made a promise to. And that would drive me to keep going forward. It didn't matter how tough anything was. I just knew I had to deliver. And the problem is as well with social media, if you've told the whole world you're doing something, you're accountable then, aren't you?
Yeah.
You got to do it.
Accountability is a big thing these days, and people call you out for it, don't they?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, you will. You'll be called out if you've told someone you're doing this and you're not, and you don't do it, or you haven't done it. You'll be made to be accountable.
Oh yeah. No, definitely. That's very commendable.
To be honest, as much as it was a great thing for a little boy and the school, it gave me a lot of purpose in my life. And actually, it probably did me, having left the military and lost that sense of purpose, it did as much for me as it did for that little boy, because it gave me some drive, it gave me motivation, and it opened up a world of opportunities since I started that project. I've, even things like coming on people like yourselves podcasts and going on TV and doing. I'm always grateful for every opportunity, because it's because of opportunities like that and like this that people know about what you're doing and how they can support you and those sorts of things. So I think mental health as well is something I always struggled with after the military, and having a purpose really helps my mental health, because I know what I've got to do in life. I know, what things I've got to achieve and who I've got to help. And I think when that's clear, life is a lot easier.
Yeah. No, I would agree. I think that. That sense of fulfillment is a big thing in life, isn't it? You got to do things that you find rewarding. If you don't get that rewarding feeling now and again, you can really it becomes stale.
Yeah, definitely.
Life becomes stale.
Somebody explained to me recently, some professor at a university I was talking to, and he was telling me about where you find purpose, and he drew me these 3 circles, and it was like, what are you good at? What can you get paid for in some way? And is it making the world a better place? And in the middle where those 3 circles cross is purpose. Yeah. And I thought, I like that. It's really true, isn't it? If you can make a living, do something that you enjoy and you're good at, and it's also making the world better, you sort of hit the jackpot, haven't you?
Yeah, 100%. Well, good for you, man. That school's still ongoing to this day?
Still on, yeah. The team just been out there last month, and we go there every year. And
is it funded by you guys, or has it got some kind of self-funding now? How's it?
Yeah, so now we've handed it to the government. So we ran it for a few years and realised that we can build a school, but we're not educational people. We can't develop curriculums and things. So it needed what I would call professionals to go in there and sort it out. But it's thriving, it's amazing. And we go back to the village and people treat us like kings because we built this school, which is nice.
Brilliant. That's really nice to hear, man. Take me back to, you talked about misbehaving at school. Tell me a little bit about school, your childhood. You grew up in Blackpool.
Yeah.
So is that council estate in Blackpool? Are you in a nice area? Where were you?
I was born on a council estate, and I probably spent, my first 10 years or so on a council estate until we moved off it. But yeah, my mum and dad both from different council estates, very working class family, hard working. But certainly I was not I wasn't living I wasn't deprived of anything. I had whatever I might have not had materially. In love and support, I had in abundance. We always went on holidays, and my mum and dad always put the kids before everyone. Yeah. But they certainly didn't have much money. They weren't rich or anything. But I loved football as a kid. So like every young boy at the time, wanted to be a footballer. Played a lot of football. Couldn't think of anything worse than sitting in a classroom It was my worst nightmare. I was ADHD as well, so like I just wanted to be running around doing stuff. I didn't care what stuff was.
Were you diagnosed with ADHD, or was it you just?
I got diagnosed nearly 3 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, which is interesting because it actually made me understand why I am the way I am, because I just thought I was a bit of an idiot or a bit nuts or whatever.
Past behaviours.
Yeah, exactly. Especially in relationships as well.
Yeah.
Do you know, where people, ex-missuses would always say, you're very selfish, you just do what you want to do. And then, you know, I've come to learn that actually hyper-focus. If I'm doing something, it gets 100% of my attention. And then what's going on around me is not even in my brain. It's just like, that's the mission and I'm on the mission. Yeah. And it's not because I don't love you or I don't care. It's just that my focus is there.
Yeah.
When I come out of that, and it'll happen now, I know with Antarctica, because I know how to manage it now, but my missus now, a lovely woman, and she's like, I know I'm not going to hear from you for about 6 or 7 weeks. If I get the odd text, it'll be a bonus. But she understands that because she's took the time to learn about me and how ADHD manifests itself in relationships. Yeah. And it's not because I'm on holiday or I'm texting another woman. It's because I'm trying to cross Antarctica or whatever I'm trying to do.
Just focused on what.
Yeah, just focused. And I think if you're hyper focused, you often can excel in whatever you're doing, and you can become a high achiever as well. And I think for anyone who's got ADHD, it's often, I guess, like a lot of things in life, your biggest strength is often your biggest weakness, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think with ADHD, that's definitely the case, because I'm hyper focused. Touch wood, I've always been pretty successful at, whether it's working in television, whether it's on adventures, doing whatever I do. And if I wasn't like that, I don't think I'd be doing the things that I do.
Yeah, no, I quite agree. I think ADHD is a recurring theme on this podcast. A lot of people have got ADHD or some kind of habit-forming personality. And it's made all these people do things like yourselves, like misbehave at school, but then when they're older, channel that into a sport and become very successful at that sport, because they don't know any different. They don't know how to blend in with normal people and do classrooms and.
No, it's true. I left school with no GCSEs, and I was told, like a lot of kids like that, you better hope you're a footballer because you ain't going anywhere else. But I've gone back to, in the army, I started doing my education and started like doing my studies at night in night college. The army would pay for it. And I did all my GCSEs, my A-levels. I did a bachelor's degree, a master's degree.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'd done the full. And then the University of Winchester recently gave me an honorary sort of fellowship with doctorate and all that. And I've done the full education system, but I was still that naughty kid with no GCSEs. So I think anyone who's listening, just because you didn't well, you might not have done well at school, or your kids haven't done well at school, that's not the end of the world. That's just a chapter in your life.
You can pick it up again.
Yeah, pick it up.
So did you finish primary school?
Yeah, I finished primary school and high school, yeah.
So you didn't get expelled?
I was, but only for short periods. I wasn't like kicked out of school or anything like that.
Yeah, like suspended.
Suspended or detentions and all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. But you managed to finish school, but you just didn't do.
I just got no GCSEs or qualifications. I was in the bottom sets of everything.
And was that through messing about and just
being a class clown, messing around? Thought I was funny. I think, the school is a bit like the military. I think, in the sense that if you play sport and you're half decent at it, you'll survive school. And that's like the military. You can fly in the military if you're a decent, whether it's bloody weightlifting or rugby or football or athletics. You don't even have to be a good soldier, and you do well in the military if you can play a sport well. Yeah. Because they really get behind you and they support you, and it's a great opportunity. Playing football, I travelled all over the world with the army, and we would call them tracksuit soldiers, and people would hate them because if you was half decent at a sport, you wouldn't be doing all the other stuff you wouldn't be on the ranges every day, or doing map reading, or you'd be playing football.
Yeah.
So it was quite fun.
Any brothers or sisters?
One older and one younger sister.
Oh, both girls, so older and younger.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were good with you.
Yeah, sound. Yeah. They're both still up in Blackpool.
Right. Okay.
But no issues there. No, all good.
Nice. So you finished school, no GCSEs. I assume you went straight to the army then. What?
Yeah, pretty much straight to the army.
Signed up.
Yeah, because I'd been in trouble with the police. I had like cautions for, antisocial behaviour, drunken, disorderly, and all these sorts of things. So it was. I had no GCSEs and they had a criminal record, so prospects in Blackpool were quite bleak.
Yeah.
And a lot of my mates as well, they'd ended up in back in the cells overnight. Often it was quite normal. Drugs, crime, all those sorts of things, as you know, in places like Blackpool, unfortunately, they're not hard to get hold of, or you're never far from those sorts of things.
Yeah.
So yeah, I ended up joining the army. I found out quite quickly in the army, to do a job that you want to do, again, you need qualifications, because the only options with no job is to be a frontline soldier, where you're going into armour or infantry.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got put in, when they showed me that picture of a Challenger 2, and I'd not even done my driving licence yet, and they said, you're going to drive this within 6 months. I was like, that looks pretty sexy. I want a bit of that.
Talk us through that process then. So you sign up, you do your training. Is it like a 30-day training period, or how's that?
I think you do like 14. It's about 14 weeks basic
14
training.
weeks basic training.
So everyone who's going to join the army, doesn't matter if you're going to be a chef or a frontline soldier or anything in between. You have to go and learn the basic soldiering skills. And then after that, you go into what's called phase 2 training, where you'd go to your specialisation. I went to Bovington to train on tanks.
Okay.
So you start as a driver.
Was that your choice? You'll sort of pick what you want to do within the army, or do they choose for you?
No, I think I walked into the recruiting office and the guy was a tanky in there, and he went, "You can come to my regiment."
Real. Yeah, so he inspired you to.
Yeah, I don't know if he inspired me or he just, it was like you're not smart enough, because you do like an entry test, which obviously I got low scores on, because it's all like maths and English and all that, which I was terrible at. And then, it's like you start with a list of 100, you do this test, and it's just like the infantry or the armoured corps. So I chose the armoured corps because it just looked really cool going on a tank. What they don't tell you at the time when you go in a tank regiment is they just show you all the driving and the shooting. They don't tell you all the fixing that you have to do as well. Do you know when?
Yeah.
And that's quite a big part of your job, is maintaining the tank and engine, oil changes, changing the tracks and all that sort of stuff. It's a bit less glamorous than it is on the posters.
Fucking hard work.
It's proper hard work.
I was a HGV mechanic for 10 years.
Just proper graft.
It just fucking breaks your back.
Yeah.
I've done some tracks on my tank, but changing a set of tracks would be like a day's work.
Oh yeah, easy, yeah.
It's just fucking so much ball ache.
And then air filters in the deserts, and the gunnery needs maintenance, cleaning the armament. It's a never ending on the tank of things that you have to keep fixing and maintaining.
Oh, I know. I've got the CVRT Scorpion as well.
Yeah. Well, do you know, I spent most of my time in a CVRT, although my regiment was a tank regiment. I actually was in what's called a scimitar. I don't know if you know the scimitar.
Yeah, the same model.
Yeah, same frame basically, isn't it? Yeah. So I was in a scimitar, because the scimitar was what we used for reconnaissance. So the sort of in every main battle tank regiment, you have a reconnaissance troop. So I was mainly in sort of a reconnaissance troop. So I would spend most of my time on the smaller vehicles. But to everyone, they just call them a tank, don't they? If you don't know about
it's got tracks, it's got a turret on it, it's a tank.
Yeah.
But yeah, that, I would say every other time I take that out, it fucking breaks down.
Really?
It is a fucking nightmare.
Well, it's the same in the real army as well.
So I've heard. When I said that to someone in the army, he's like, I'm not fucking surprised. They're fucking awful.
Yeah, and they're old as well.
They are now. Yeah.
But they've proven themselves time and time again. At the same time, in conflict, they've done a great job. So I guess it does what it says on the tin, so to speak.
Yeah. So you did your 14-week basic training, and then they chuck you
into Bovington. It's where you learn, basically you get introduced to, in fact, before it's a tank, it's what they call a driving sort of training simulator of some sort, where it's like the shell of a tank, but without all the guns and all that. It's almost like, and then in the top of it, where the turret would be, they've got like driving instructors who you're down there, and you do at Bovington, if you've ever seen it, what's called the knife edge, where you balance the tank on the big sort of top of it. It's like a mound of earth.
All right.
And they call it the knife edge.
And you have to try and balance it on the top. Yeah. I did that on a car once, in a car park. Yeah.
Do you know, you should get down there, because I'm sure they would love to have you down there on and have a go at the knife edge.
Yeah, that'd be brilliant.
That'd
be fun. So basically teaching you how to drive a tank.
Teaching you how to drive it, teach you how to maintain it, and then literally from there.
Did you do your H license, or is it just?
Yeah, I did all that down there as well.
So they do your driving license for you.
Driving license, H license.
H license.
And all your C and C+E, HGV, all that.
Yeah, class 1s, class 2s. Actually, they just give you, get you
literally
the full shebang.
Give you a full shebang, yeah.
So you can drive absolutely any vehicle.
Yeah, I can pretty much drive it. I wouldn't want me to drive anything. You can do your motorbike there. I chose not to do my motorbike there. a long story, but my mum's best mate died on a motorbike. So the only thing she said, go wherever you want in the world, just don't drive a motorbike. Yeah, okay. So I kept that promise all my life.
Yeah, oh, good for you. Good for you. That's cool. So you've got every license under the sun. I have. Really?
I wouldn't want me driving your truck or anything because I've not used them in since I did the test and that's all I've done. I've never drove one.
Yeah. Well,
I think there's a difference between qualified and competent.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah. So I've kept all my licenses. You have to renew them every 5 years, and I've always renewed them. And I've just bought you've seen the Dodge Rams?
Yeah.
So I bought the
Beasts,
3500 Dodge Ram. And I'm having a fifth wheel put on the back of it so I can tow the big tank with it. So it'll pull the big tank so I can tow the big tank up and down the country. But yeah,
because you can drive the tank or armoured vehicles on the roads, can't you? If you've got
so both of mine are road legal.
Yeah.
So I drive them up quite regularly. Pick my son up from school.
Really?
Go to the gym. Yeah, it's good fun.
Brilliant.
Yeah, there's not many on the road now.
No.
They're not allowing it. Any more tanks road registered.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, the ones that are on there are the last of I think there's 89 road legal tanks in the world. And I've got 2 of them. So, yeah, they
are amazing bits of kit, though. I remember, the film Fury, the Brad Pitt film. I always thought that was, the best. You see films sometimes, Hollywood films, and you always think it wouldn't happen like that in real life. But that was such a good representation of life in a tank, the camaraderie, the banter, the abuse. It was really, that's what it's like in a tank. Literally, it was such a good representation, I thought.
So how old were you when you sort of all passed everything and you've got your tank licenses? And
17 really.
Wow. It's a young age to be in charge of a Challenger too.
It is, but then I was sent straight to on my 18th birthday, I was sent pretty much straight to Northern Ireland to go and do an operational tour. So, and there was no tanks there. It was all like an infantry tour on foot. Yeah. So I didn't see a tank for probably a year after I'd trained on it till we come back from Northern Ireland.
What was the conflict like over there? Was it hostile, or did you have to get involved in much, or was it just more of a presence?
It was more of a presence. Obviously, it was hostile in the 70s, 80s, and we were just part of that legacy. I think because when you're 18 years old and all you're doing is reading books about all the shootings that had happened over the years and the bombs that had gone off, you go in there like, bloody hell, I'm probably going to die on my first patrol or get shot. But you soon learn that isn't the reality. And it's a bit weird because when you're in Northern Ireland, it's almost aesthetically like being here. It's no different. It's the same. But you're stuck in a military camp, which is quite frustrating because the world's going on out there. Friday night you'd be patrolling and all the girls would be in the nightclubs, the guys, you go drive past the five-a-side centre, but you're going back to sleep in a camp. So it was quite frustrating, I think, but it was good for learning discipline, learning the basics of soldiering and routine in quite a safe operation, really. Of course, the threat is always there, but for me, it was a great learning curve, I think.
What was the money like at that age going into the army?
I think I was probably on about 14, 15 grand a year at the time.
I mean, back then, it's not too bad a wage for someone that's getting food, accommodation.
Well, you know qualifications. You get I think you used to get about 800 quid a month, but you'd be fed and you'd have a roof over your head. So we were quite happy. And
that was pocket money and save.
Good, you'd normally spend it. We'd have like a millionaire's weekend where we'd go and blow our wages in one night or something,
Would you?
Yeah, literally. And then you'd be selling your PlayStation down the block, the next weekend for your night out or whatever. Yeah, quite typical that of military life. Living in the block, you'd literally sell off your kit from one month to the next and rebuy it back off the guy who bought it the month before. And good times, good memories as well.
And then what about Iraq? So you've done a tour, so to say, in Northern Ireland.
Yeah, and then
back for a bit.
Yeah, come back for probably about 18 months. I was out in Canada doing training and Poland and places like that. And then we got called up to go to Iraq in 2005. And then we deployed out there for about 7 months. I remember I was working in intelligence. I'd gone on some courses at the time to go and working in an intelligence cell. And I was sort of dealing with the bad guys. I was questioning them. We have like interrogation centers and we would try and extract information from people. And I remember waiting for my flight. I can remember sitting on the end of my bed in camp, waiting for my flight. And one of the lads got killed. And that was probably the first time. He was a guy called, he was a guardsman actually, called Anthony Wakefield. And it was like he'd been killed on the day I was flying. And I think that was the first time I realised.
Coming home or going
No,
home?
going out there.
Going out there.
Yeah, so I'd not got out there yet, but we'd lost the guy already, and I'd only seen it on the news, and he was in the place, in the camp, in the sort of the team that I was going to. And that was like a real reality check for me then, going, this is real now. Because I think like anything in life, until something traumatic happens, it's always somebody else. It's never you, is it?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like going to Northern Ireland. It's sort of like a false pretense, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, yeah. But even like, I don't know, like you see, a few years ago, there was a crash on the M6, and I remember doing like first aid or something, and it's quite surreal when you're there, because it's just stuff you see and you hear about. Yeah. But when you're in it, it's very different. And going to Iraq, and then people were dying everywhere, not necessarily around me, but all over Iraq, people were getting killed every day. And it's like when you're in a war zone, all your senses are heightened to like a level that you can't even describe. And I think the only time I ever sort of had that ever since is like on adventures where you're in it's like you're so close to danger that you feel more alive than you've ever felt in a weird way. Mm. And it's quite, I don't want to say addictive, but there's something quite powerful about that, where you're hyper vigilant, even like smell, your taste, everything is like at an extreme level.
Yeah, you're in a constant fight or flight.
Yeah, literally, yeah. And because you're constantly alert, because especially in Iraq, it was all about, at the time when I was there, it was all about the roadside bombs, the IEDs. And unlike Afghanistan, where people were sort of hand-to-hand fighting almost, in Iraq, it was all about IEDs at the time. And you didn't know who your enemy was, because the guy who was shaking your hand in the day at the local market was the same guy sometimes who was trying to take you out by night. Yeah. So you couldn't trust anyone, and it would play with your mind, really.
Yeah. You're always on your tiptoes, sort of.
Yeah, looking over your shoulder.
Eggshells and
anyone on the phone that you drive past, are they planting something, or are they trying to initiate a roadside bomb? You just wouldn't trust anybody.
Yeah, that must be horrible.
Yeah, especially the police as well. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of good people in these places as well. I shouldn't tarnish all locals, but like the Iraqi police were one of the most corrupt organizations in the world. And but also at the same time, where you see often sort of the worst of humanity in locals, you'd see the best of it as well. People helping each other, people supporting you, people happy to see you there because you're hopefully making a difference. Mm. But I when I look back and I see how many people were lost in both Iraq and Afghanistan, you do question to yourself as a former soldier, what did we achieve there? What good came from that? I think that's quite difficult to sort of quantify when people lost their lives, good people, on both sides.
Do you feel it was a worthwhile cause?
We probably helped a generation of people who. It's tough. It's like it's very political as well, isn't it? I don't normally get into politics, but for me, if when I look back at those countries, you look at Afghanistan. I didn't serve in it. I've been to Afghanistan many times, but I never served there. But all those areas where we took lots of ground but shed lots of blood, the Taliban are now back in control of a lot of those areas. So you might argue that there was a generation of maybe 10 years where people did get to go to school, did get to go about their daily business, and they were in a safer environment. But now it's a lot of it's gone back to the control that was there before we arrived. So you can't put a price on people's lives. So if I would much rather see all those people still with us than. I don't know is probably the honest answer, and I'm probably not qualified or educated enough to know either.
It's a good question though, isn't it?
It is. It's a powerful question. Yeah. But and I think from a soldier's perspective, you never question while you're there. You start thinking about it when after you get home and then you've left the military. I thought about it a lot, but as a soldier, you accept that I've signed up to serve Queen or King and country, and that's my job, and that's what I've got to do. I've never been on operations and had conversations with people going, do you think we should be here, or should that guy have lost his life? I've never in my life heard those conversations.
Well, that's good. So you're all there and you're all on the same page, so to say. You know what you got to go for, the purpose. And
definitely. But I also think you're not there. Again, hopefully this doesn't come across negative, but when you're there, the only thing that you're worried about is you and your mates coming home alive. Yeah. You're not thinking about how patriotic you are.
Yeah, so the morale over there was really good in that way.
I think it was, yeah. Because you have that sort of concept of you would call it like a band of brothers.
Yeah.
That sort of camaraderie. Because people put their life on the line for someone that they don't even like. And that is quite a special relationship, isn't it? You know, the guy who does your wedding every day, you can't stand it, you'd never go for a pint within your life, but you'd still take or give a life for.
I always say this, it doesn't matter where you are in the world, what company you work for, or if you're out downtown, you're at a party, you're at a kid's party, there is always one dickhead in the room.
It's true, isn't it?
No matter where you go in the world, there's always one fucking dickhead. And when you say that to the people, they're like, yeah, there is.
Yeah.
Yeah, because everyone's got that one dickhead.
You know the other part of that story, though, don't you?
No, go on.
If you can't find the dickhead in the room.
You are the dickhead. Yeah, see, I'll openly admit I often was that dickhead, yeah.
And me as well.
Yeah.
I think we've all been the dickhead at some point in our lives, haven't we?
Yeah, if no one's admitting who the dickhead is, it's, oh, fuck, maybe it's me then.
No.
Okay. So, Iraq, is there any stories out there that you can tell us that are like, because we had Mark Ormrod on.
Yeah, great bloke. I know Mark, legend.
And his story was fucking
phenomenal.
Insane. Like stepping on a landmine and getting blown to smithereens and
it's incredibly, an incredibly inspiring guy as well, you know, with the adversity that he's faced and overcome and continues to push the boundaries in anything he does. He's an amazing bloke.
Insane. Any stories similar to that
I think, you know, in terms of conflict, of course, I told you about the little boy earlier who we lost, which sort of inspired the school to be built. But going on patrol, and in my first patrol, the very first patrol I went on, actually, stepped foot on Iraqi soil within 24 hours. I was on patrol, and that was the first time in my life that I'd ever been shot at. We were on a patrol with my troop out to the Iranian border, to a police station right on the Iraq-Iran border, and we'd sort of been driving, I don't know, 6 or 8 hours out to the border, and our sort of officer in charge, a guy called Nick Hunter at the time, he was an incredibly inspiring leader. He said, right, I'm going to have a walk over to the border just to make sure everything's all right before we move off. And he'd walked over there, and all of a sudden, sort of 3 or 4 gunmen had popped up and started trying to pop him off.
Yeah.
And I've never seen it. I remember at the time we were in these sort of 2 or 3 cut down Land Rovers, and I've never seen someone so casually just walk back over saying, right, guys, put your magazines on and start shooting. And it was like, I'd only been in the country 24 hours. I'd never fired, except for being on the ranges, I'd never fired my weapon before.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I remember I had this young girl next to me in the back of this imagine like a cut down Land Rover with no armour. Do you know the sort of like ones that you'd have in the desert?
Yeah.
And me and this young girl, she'd been put on this patrol because we were just going out to a border fort and it was very safe. And she was, I think she was a clerk, you know, just someone who's like doing the admin and the paperwork. And she'd come on this patrol just to get a bit of experience of what it's like to be on the ground. And all of a sudden she's being asked to put this magazine on and start shooting. And the look in her eyes, you know, that it was like the end of the world. And I remember her, bless her, she was trying to get a magazine out. The rounds were falling on the floor, and I was there trying to get the rounds down. And I remember her waving a rifle and she's
and firing.
Yeah, and I remember saying, "Whoa, whoa, whoa!" And I had to stop and grab her and just say, "Just don't fire if you're going to do that, because you know you're
gonna fucking kill one of us.
You're going to kill one of us." And then you know, and it's quite funny because in those moments, your initial reaction as a it's like, you have that moment of, oh shit, we're getting shot at here, and all of a sudden you're looking left and right to your boss who's in charge to sort of like give you fire orders, and it's a very surreal moment because it's sort of like muscle memory, because you've practiced and rehearsed your drills that many times that you're almost going to sleep thinking about them.
Yeah.
And then but there's a split second where you have that oh shit before the brain kicks in going, right, do all your drills and skills.
Yeah.
And I think probably every soldier must have had that at some point who's served. But it was a real sort of like welcome to Iraq moment, you know, going on your first patrol and getting shot at and then getting the rounds off. And then it was always interesting for me that when you come back in off a patrol, I just thought after that patrol, you know, you that's obviously what it's going to be like out here. But then we'd get back to camp, and then you had like military police officers who would then come and like, you know, almost interrogate you on, and you have to, every round, people wouldn't believe this, but every round that you've shot out of your weapon has to be accountable. There has to be a reason, you know, that you fired that gun.
Okay.
You know, I remember him like saying, right, you fired 11 rounds, I think I'd fired on this particular incident. And I had to justify every bullet that I'd fired.
Wow.
And I thought, yeah. And the same, like, another weird things were like, when we like an operation had been carried out and we'd brought in some of the bad guys, like they'd been arrested or apprehended, they'd come into a prisoner handling sort of section of the camp where they might be interrogated or they'd be questioned or tactically questioned or whatever it was. And I remember when I would be questioning someone, we'd always have like, you'd be told and brief, like this guy, he was responsible, we believe, for making IEDs that were imported from Iran, and we think he was the man who pulled the trigger that killed this soldier, one of our troops. So you're reading this and you're like, oh, you're obviously raging when you're reading because you're going to meet this guy face to face like we are now, and he's got a lot of blood on his hands. And then I remember like you would have somebody sat there now, like where our producers are, literally next to us, and it'd be like a human rights person, from like the UN or somewhere like that.
So you couldn't shout at him.
And you would have to like give a drink of water every 30 minutes. He'd ask for a meal and they'd be brought a meal in. And I remember thinking the first time it happened, I was thinking, people would never believe this, like, because you watch all the Hollywood films, don't you? And people in interrogation centers and things. Yeah. And it couldn't be any further from the reality of what was happening on the ground where we were. And again, if you was too close or if you got too aggressive or anything, people would almost like step in and say, no, can you go and have a 5 minutes outside, and have a breather. And so I think things like that you never really see or get to see, because that's sort of another side of that world. But it was really interesting to...
That sounds nuts.
Yeah, it isn't. And it plays with your mind because
some motherfucker sat there that's potentially killed thousands of people, and you've got to speak to him as nice as possible and give him a drink of water and
but we're not even getting a
Big Mac meal and whatever else.
Yeah, and sometimes that person there is getting looked after better than the troops in the camp.
I can believe it.
Yeah. It's quite surreal. But I think what was it? I was very low down the ranks in the military. I was a junior non-commissioned officer, and it was very interesting because from being in a frontline soldier, you only really, at the lower ranks, you only get told your job. It's like we would say a need-to-know basis, and so you just get told, this is your job and that's what you've got to do. But when you work in an intelligence cell, even at a junior level, you see why the troops are doing that operation and why they're doing that over there and why the battle group's over there. And that's it makes sense now. You sort of see the bigger picture. But it's also quite scary as well when you get exposed to all that additional information, which is probably why it doesn't get shared with you when you see what's going on in the bigger battle space. Yeah. But it was one of the most interesting jobs that I did. And it was as a result of those amazing experiences that I ended up going to work on Channel 4's Hunted as one of the hunter. It was those courses and qualifications and bits of experience that led me into the media sort of 10 years later, which it's funny when you look back, isn't it? And you see the junctions that sent you in a different direction in life.
Hey guys, quick one from me and a word from our sponsor. Now, I'm always looking for ways to stay strong, recover faster, and keep my energy up, which is why I've been using DoNotAge.org. They're a health research organization focusing on real science for better health and longevity. Lately, I've been taking their NMN product for energy and their Cert6 activator for longevity and Naturalis to keep my blood flow on point, and I'm genuinely feeling a big difference. So visit DoNotAge.org and fuel your performance from the cells up, and you can use code BEAST for 10% off all ingredients. That's DoNotAge.org. Thank you. Now let's get back to the podcast. So the Iraqi, what was it, 2005, 2006?
Yeah, 2005, and I left the military actually after that tour. I sort of we'd lost some people, and I thought I don't want to be doing this anymore. And I actually left the military for 6 months, went back to Blackpool, and then thought, no, I'm going back in the army again. Yeah. And then went back in, and it was quite funny actually, because you know what? I went back to Blackpool, and when you leave the army, you get given some money and about 6 weeks to do what we call resettlement courses, where you transition back into society. And then some people go and be plumbers, some go and be bodyguards and all that. Uh-huh. And you can do what you want with the money, whatever you want. And they give you
how much money?
Maybe 2 to 5K. And it's got to be spent on, stuff that's going to...
Training, like a plumber's course.
You're supposed to spend it, I should say, on that.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, I was still quite young at the time anyway, so I decided I'm not going to do my courses And I went to Magaluf for about 5 weeks or something and spent all the money. And that was probably why I ended up, back in the army 6 months later. Yeah. But I went back to Blackpool, and I remember I was working and I got into security, but basic security guarding, really.
Yeah, high-vis job.
Yeah, that sort of stuff. And do you know what my job was? And it's a laugh now, and no disrespect to this job, but going from being a frontline soldier serving your country to putting on a high vest, and my job was a big Tesco superstore in Blackpool, and I just had to press the button on the car park barrier to let cars in. And I've been there, and I was doing 7 days a week, 12-hour shifts, and I still was scraping by. It was minimum wage.
Yeah.
And I remember it was summertime, 2006, I think. And some of the lads, because my regiment was all Northerners, they were all Lancashire lads, and a group of lads came in a car to pick up some crates because they were heading down Blackpool Beach or something. And I was there on the gate with my Barry, and you can imagine all the army lads coming in, the abuse I got. I stood there in my high-vis vest and that. And that was the turning point. That was the turning point. I went, I'm not doing this.
So a group of army boys, look at this fucking pussy here.
That's what they were literally giving me loads of abuse. Yeah. And I went home that night, and I rang up my old boss and I said, sir, can I come back, please? I need to rejoin the army. And he was like, yeah, come back. And literally within 3 days, I was back in the army. And the funniest thing was, the first job that the boss gave me was to go to the camp gates at Tidworth and guard the gate. Yeah. But I was there in my uniform, so I wasn't bothered. I was quite proud of the second round. But then when I got back in, I knew that I had to get all my qualifications because I had a plan. When I got back in, I knew I was going to leave again in a few years, but I needed to be well equipped. And that's when I sort of went and did all my studies in, bachelor's degree, master's degree, and started learning because the army would pay for it if I was still in.
Yeah.
So they paid for 30, 40 grand's worth of education for me. It was amazing, really. And then when I got out the second time, that's when I went into security, but into proper high level.
How long were you back in for then, for that second
5 years.
5 years?
Yeah.
And you spent 5 years just building up.
Basically just exploiting all the financial streams of the MOD. So I want every qualification I can get.
Any tours during that time?
Went back to Iraq, but only for a very short period because when I joined up again, I caught the back end of a tour that was already on. So just went back out there for a few weeks into an intelligence cell again. But I didn't really do anything out there. It was a bit of an holiday, really, to be honest.
Yeah, well, good. Sounds great. Getting paid to learn.
Yeah,
sounds great.
I did. I just spent 5 years learning and training.
Awesome.
And the military's great, but it's one of those places where no one's going to come along and say, I'll help you out. Do you want to go on this course? You've got to dig around and find all the information. But it's all there, and they'll pay a load of money, but you've got to do it. You've got to take account. It's got back to accountability. If you want it, you've got to own it.
Yeah, no, fair enough. So you come out the army, and then how do we end up doing TV stuff?
Well, I came out of the army and I was coming back. I decided I was going to leave, and I'd got a phone call from a mate of mine who'd been in the Royal Marines back in Blackpool, and he rang me up and he said, Jordan, can you get out of the army early? How quick could you get out of the army? Because normally in the military, you have to give a year's notice to leave, which is a long time. But there is a system that gives early release, but you've got to sort of demonstrate that it's an amazing opportunity that's going to advance your career. You can't just be to go and get a normal job.
Yes.
You've got to literally have a top reason. And my mate in the ex-Marine, he rings me up and said, it's kicking off Somalia. Pirates are attacking ships and we're short of people. I've been doing it for about 6 months and we're making loads of money. It's amazing. He said, do you reckon you could get out the army within a week? And I was like, probably no chance of getting out the army within a week, but I can ask the question. I said, could you get me a contract? And he got me a year contract. So I took it to my commanding officer, and he said, I'll do my best to try and get you out, And because I'd been in my second stint, I'd screwed the nut and been a decent soldier and always worked hard and that and wasn't messing around. So he tried to help me, the commanding officer. He got me out of the army within 7 days of me walking out of camp. I was on a ship off the coast of Somalia.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was
brilliant. Doing private security.
Doing private security, literally protecting ships from pirate attacks.
So what was the wage difference from army to that?
It was significant. Do you know what? It's certainly not that these days, and it was probably the best period of my life in terms of financial income. I remember the first invoice that I did. I don't know if we should say this, but
go for it.
I got paid more from that first invoice for 1 month than I did in a whole year in the army.
Yeah.
It was insane. They were just literally paying. It was a bit. it was a bit like the Wild West out there, because this industry, a lot of people had been to Iraq and Afghanistan doing private security and making a lot of money, because I'd encountered them when I was serving in the army. I'd see these like people come in with big beards, tattoos, and they just like grab an AK-47 and they just go out, and almost like they were just doing their own thing. And they look, you know, a lot of them were ex-SAS, SBS, and they look cool as anything. And I remember thinking at the time, I'd love to have a go at doing that sort of stuff. But I hadn't come from a special forces background, so it was a very competitive space to be. But what put me in good stead was I'd done all my studies in the field of security. So even though I wasn't coming at it as like an elite operator, I'd come at it with a very in-depth understanding of managing risk at a strategic level and stuff. So I was able to add that to my normal soldiering, which then put me in quite a unique space. We got out on the ships, and I'd never been on a ship in my life, so I didn't know. You know, I remember the captain saying, "Right, port, starboard, forward, aft," and he's like, he could have been speaking Chinese to me, and I was like, oh God, this is going to be hard work, and I had to learn very quickly, and I was still quite young, and I remember I had to work. I felt like at the time I had to work twice as hard, because there was all these ex-special forces guys, and they were like, "Oh, he's just a bloody young lad from the cavalry or a tank regiment or something." And I remember people would there was always that bit of like animosity, it seemed at the time. So I remember thinking at the time I had to work really hard, but then, you know, it paid off. A year later, I was a team leader, then an ops manager. And we got involved in a few skirmishes with the pirates, but nothing that everyone else, you know, it was quite common. It just wasn't reported. People were having shootouts with the pirates all the time. And I ended up getting involved in a couple of different incidents that made high-profile news at the time, including pirates boarding our ship. What happened was we were taking a ship down from the Middle East down to Somalia. I say taking, we were the security team on board. And the ship was delivering like vital aid to the Somali people. It was like, like rice and grain. It was part of the World Food Programme. And we'd gone down to Somalia with my team. I had an ex-paratrooper with me and an ex-Royal Navy guy. And the way it works in the shipping world, there's every ship in the world has a flag on the back of it. And that's where that ship is registered to that country.
Right.
So it means, like, you see it on a plane as well, there'll always be a little sticker on the back of a plane.
Okay.
And it means that country, that transport, whether it's a plane or a boat or whatever, it's registered to that country. But why is that important? Because the law of that country is applicable while you're on that vessel. So like you can't carry, if you're on a British Airways plane, you can carry a gun, because in the UK we can't walk around with guns.
Okay. So so British Airways would come under a British law.
Exactly, And
a Russian airplane would come under Russian law.
Exactly, but then also where it gets complicated, especially with guns, is then on a boat. In the UK, it's very clear cut that we're in the UK. You're not allowed guns. It's as simple as that, unless you've got a license for various uses, as we talked about. On a ship, you're on a piece of territory where you're under. If it's a British ship, just for example, you're under British law while you're on that ship. But then you might encroach into a port of another country. So you're under British law, but you're under the jurisdiction of, whatever country's law you're in.
It's two
laws. But then on top of that, you've got international maritime law. So there's very grey areas, especially when you're moving guns around the world.
Yes, And is there such a thing as like no law?
Well, there's the high seas.
Territory.
Yeah, so so what you have on every country in the world, to 12 miles is called the exclusive economic zone. So that's like where all the, like where you do oil and gas extraction. That 12 miles out is owned by that country. And then you have, that's the territorial zone, 12 miles.
Yeah.
Then up to 200 miles is the EEZ, the exclusive economic zone for oil exploration and things. But then after the 200-mile zone, it's sort of this grey no man's land, as you say, and a bit like the Wild West. So what you would find is out at sea, because it was so difficult to move guns around, because when you're on a ship, you're going in and out of so many countries, and every country would have a different law if they wanted guns to come in or not. So what we did is we got what we call floating armories. We would basically take a ship, put it in the middle of no man's land, and then what we would do is we'd leave the weapons on that ship, and we'd have them scattered across the high-risk area, across the ocean. And then if we were going that way, we'd pick them up there and drop them off there, and we would keep moving weapons around the Indian Ocean, basically.
Yeah, wow, okay.
Yeah, and it was a fascinating world, because the Indian Ocean must have had tens of thousands of these guns, and we were basically moving them around. Because we couldn't take them in countries because you'd be arrested, and people were, ex-British military guys were arrested for arriving with the wrong paperwork, and you'd be accused of terrorism, spy charges, all sorts.
So some people have done some long prison time, I imagine, then.
Yeah, there's a guy, do you know what, he'd be a great guest on your podcast as well. He's a friend of mine, Nick Dunn. He spent 5 years in an Indian jail, ex-paratrooper. Just got out of the parachute regiment.
Oh man, that's brutal.
He wrote an amazing book of a horrific experience called Surviving Hell. And he literally did his courses, went on the ships, and he'd not been out there long, but he was working for the wrong company at the wrong time. And they went into an Indian port, and the authorities came on, and they weren't happy with his paperwork. 6 of them. We called them the Chennai Six because they got locked in Chennai prison for nearly 5 years. And we campaigned to try and get him out of prison.
My life.
Yeah, it's horrific, the stories that he tells about that.
But that's
like what I mean about the Wild West, because it was, you could like literally buy guns on the black market out there. You could like turn up in places like Sri Lanka, and for $200 you'd get an AK and a couple of 3 magazines. Yeah. And that was what it was like. It's not like that now, and because the industry boomed, it grew too quickly. And even I remember my mate in the Marines, he sent me like an email circular that was going down Marines, because they were like short-manned in the Marines because everyone was leaving to join on this the gold rush it was.
Because the money was
was just ridiculous. You know, you could earn £1,000 a day when you was earning 40 quid a day in the army or whatever.
Yeah.
But obviously the risk that came with that was when things go wrong, you haven't got the backup. You haven't got the Ministry of Defence coming out.
I mean, I had a pal who did that, who did private security. I'm sure it was Iraq. He got killed doing the private security, but he was earning 20, 30 grand a month.
Yeah, easy, yeah.
Stupid money. But as you say, you get paid that kind of cash and everything has a risk. And you go out there, you get paid that kind of money, and you spend 5 years in Indian prison.
Yeah. Well, on that Somalia trip, I digressed a bit off there, but on that Somalia trip, we'd gone down to Somalia. And the idea was that we would discharge the cargo and then move out quite quickly. But because the flag of the ship, that's where I was going, with the flag of the ship, it didn't allow the carriage of weapons. So we were providing security on a ship, but we didn't have any weapons.
Wow.
Yeah, so what you would do is we would buy razor wire in the port, and you'd put it all around the ship, so anyone couldn't climb over. Yeah. You'd put fire hoses over the side of the ships on full spray. So you're just making it as difficult as possible for pirates to get on board. But when we got down there, we got delayed, which is quite common in shipping, that the port isn't ready to take the cargo yet. And we were there for we thought it was going to be a few hours, it became a few days, and then all of a sudden we got hit by pirates. I'm in my cabin, sleeping, and then ex-para on the bridge, he calls me through on the radio, says, "Jordan, we've got pirates boarding the ship," because we were just like in what's called an anchorage area, waiting offshore slightly to be called forward. And so we got pirates on the ship, and then it just turned into chaos, and we had to go into we call it a citadel, but like a lockdown room, a safe room that's down in the depths of the engine of the ship.
Yeah.
And then call in a rescue from the Navy in the region. So a bit like a fire drill, like you get everybody together in a muster point, get everybody in one place, and then call a rescue in. But we tried to call the rescue in, and the sat phone wasn't working because we were in a black spot. So it was it was chaos, carnage.
Felt like sitting ducks.
Yeah, literally. And because you're on a ship, it's a bit like a maze. You get on this deck, and there's maybe 20 decks that you can't see that go down into the depths of the ship. So what you would have done is we would create a layered defense system where we'd have put different locks on different levels on doors. And what you're essentially trying to do is buy time so the pirates can't make progress. So hopefully someone's coming to rescue you. But if you've not told anyone about it, nobody's coming.
Yeah, they just keep coming through all the security barriers.
So long story short, we had to make some pretty bold decisions, because when you go into the safe room or the citadel, the drill is that you never leave it until you're rescued, because you don't know what's behind that door. Yeah. And we made the decision that we're going to have to leave it because we need to go and get a signal on this satellite phone. So it was probably the most dangerous thing I ever did in my life. Yeah, and it was the most scared I've been. But yeah, we ended up being able to get up the funnel, get a signal, and get a rescue called in.
And then get back down.
And then get back down, and it was like News at 10 Trevor McDonald stuff at the time.
Now.
That was like 15 years ago.
That's fucking crazy. What's that film with
Tom Hanks?
Tom Hanks. What's that?
So that's what brought me into the media. I got to be a consultant advisor on that film. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So after all those incidents, someone rings us up one day saying we're producing this film, and they filmed it in Malta. It wasn't obviously off Somalia.
Yeah.
And I just came and did. I can't like big up my role because I was just there as an advisor to say this is what pirates do, what they look like, what the tactics are. Yeah. And then somebody in Channel 4 a year later said, this guy's the pirate hunter. I wasn't the pirate hunter. I was actually trying to avoid pirates at all costs. Yeah. They went, he'd be a great fugitive hunter. Let's get him in and do a screen test and all that. And then I got invited to go to Channel 4, and then Hunted's been going 10 years now. So it's been a great journey doing Hunted as well, which has been amazing.
Yeah, that's a great show.
It's
great
good fun.
Concept.
It's 10 years this year. We've just filmed 2 more series. One's just finished and one will come out next year. But it's a great concept. It's working with like interesting people. It's not. People always say, it's just another reality show to me. But no, these are people on it. And I don't mean me, but these are some of the best of the best. Special forces, investigators, intelligence experts. And their intelligence levels are insane. Watching them, how they solve puzzles and crimes and track fugitives is, I just love chasing people and jumping out of an helicopter or off a rib. That's what I enjoy about it. But the people I work with are so intelligent.
What's like the standout episode that you've been involved in that?
So I've been lucky that because at the end of it, you always have what we call an extraction. So the fugitives have got to get to a location to win the show. Where normally they get to this location and it'd be like, get to the helicopter and there's 100 grand sat on there, with the case open, or get to this island over there. So I've been quite lucky because of, I guess maybe some of the adventure skills and you can abseil, I can rope, I can do all different things, jump out of a plane. So I've got I'm quite adventurous, whereas some of the people on the show would, if then, be careful how I frame it, but I'm up for the crack. I'm not a professional investigator. I'm not serving in the police still or anything or in the military. Some people consider their reputation, so they might not do certain things because they're still in their professional roles. Whereas me, I'm like, if we're going to make epic TV, sign me up. I want to be involved. So I think, there was one particular case where I was chasing a guy off Strictly Come Dancing. What was his name? AJ. He's a Strictly Come Dancing guy. He was quite cocky and quite arrogant, but good fun. And I remember he got on this rib and he was literally getting away on this rib. It was the last shot of the series. He's literally heading away in this rib boat across Southampton waters. And the producer behind me, he just went, Jordan, he said, this is it, he's won. He said, whatever happens now is the end of the show. So I had all my kit on and my radios and everything. I just thought, sorry, I'm going to make a dive off the boat to try. If I'd have hit his boat, I'd have probably been dead.
Yeah.
But I just made a dive for it off the boat into his. And then I got the biggest telling off ever because I had all these like tens of thousands of pounds of camera and radio kit. But then when they watched it back, the producers, we paused after he won the show and then we stopped it. They watched it back and they were like, that looks epic. And then they had to go and buy a load of new kit because they wanted us to keep doing it again and again to get better shots and angles.
So ended up starting something there.
Yeah. So but there's been loads of great moments, and the celebrity version's always for Stand Up to Cancer, which is a great charity. And it's good. Like I don't really buy into celebrity culture because I think that's half the problem with the world. I think we have this, as I said earlier, making uninspiring people famous for the sake of it. But it does good. It raises money for charity, the show, and it's not just another reality show. It's got some amazing people on it. And it's good for you, like whether we like celebrity culture or not, Profile provides opportunities. So it gives me a little bit to do it makes it a bit easier to get sponsors for expeditions. It makes it a bit easier to find new opportunities. So I'm very grateful for that. So it's good fun. Yeah, really good fun.
Awesome. And then tell me about these expeditions that you do. Like you climb mountains. You're doing something, literally you're flying out in a few days to go and climb a mountain in the Antarctica.
Yeah, so for me, I've always since I left the military, I've found that one, I need to stay fit and be active just for my mental health more than anything. Because I go downhill quite quickly, me. I take medication every day still for my mental health, for anxiety and depression.
What medication?
Sertraline.
Sertraline.
Yeah,
so like a Prozac kind of.
Yeah, it's an antidepressant, like 200 milligrams I took for about 10 years, but I don't know if it makes me feel any better, but I know that I feel rubbish if I don't take it.
Is it a night time or a day?
First thing in the morning, I take it, yeah.
Okay.
And if I miss like 2 days because I'm away or something, I'm not like, feel like, the world's, I can't be bothered. Like, what's the point? That sort of horrible mentality. But I generally don't know if it does me any better, but I just know that I feel worse if I don't take it.
Yeah. Even if it is a placebo, it's
exactly.
Just taking something to know you get. I get you.
Yeah, but and I've always found like doing adventures is great because it keeps, the best medicine for me is being outside. I love, I call it blue therapy or green therapy. Stick me in the ocean or stick me on a mountain and I'm the happiest in the world. And I think it's great for mental health, but also if you can do these adventures, which are great fun anyway, but have a purpose behind them, it keeps you going when things get tough. And also, I guess some of my adventures are a bit wackier than some people's, because to raise serious money in this day and age, everyone's jumped out of a plane. Everybody's done a 5K. You've got to push the boundaries. So it's about seeing how far we can take it. So world records, world firsts, I don't really need them myself, but that's how you get the media coverage. That's how you get the sponsors. And that's how you build the brand, I guess, of the expedition.
Yeah. Jeez. What was the first one you did?
Well, the first one I did where for a serious fundraising, and that's where I learned you don't have to be the best at anything. You just got to think differently.
Yeah.
It was climbing Kilimanjaro actually about 15 years ago now. It was a friend of mine in the military. His mum had passed away with cancer, and he wanted to do something good for one of the cancer charities. And he said, Jordan, we're going to climb Kilimanjaro, me and one of the lads. Do you fancy doing it? We're going to try and raise some money for the charity and what have you. And I said, if we want to raise a good amount of money, we need lots of people. Clearly, take nothing away from Kilimanjaro, an amazing mountain and a tough mountain. It's a 5,000 meter peak, but a lot of people climb it. Yeah. It's quite a common thing for people to do. So I said, we need to do something different. I said, we do Kilimanjaro, but why don't we do it with no shoes on? And they said, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Why would we do it with no shoes on?
Fucking nutcase.
So I came up with this idea called Barefoot Warrior Kilimanjaro Project. And the idea was we were just going to climb it like everybody else climbs it, but with no shoes on. And they said, no, they're not doing it. So I said, well, I'm going to do it that way. And they said, we'll go at your pace. And it took me twice as long. Instead of like a week, it took nearly 2 weeks, like 12, 13 days. But my fundraising page raised nearly 70,000 and theirs didn't do 1,000. And the only thing that I did different was take my shoes off.
Yeah.
And it showed me that I know I'm not the fittest. I know I'm not the fastest, the best, but I know that I can be different.
Yeah.
And that's all my things that, that I don't think they're necessarily prolific in terms of physicality, but, to go and I'll push the boundaries of where I'm going or how I'm going to frame it or do something that's unique, or because also you've got to engage your audience, so you can do the most amazing thing in the world, but if you can't sell it, it's no good, is it?
Oh, geez, yeah. I mean, fuck my life. Walking from my living room to the kitchen without my shoes fucking hurts my feet. Climbing Kilimanjaro.
Yeah, but I think the toughest one that I tried to do was I was listening this morning to the Ross Edgley podcast.
Yes, he's a fucking
yeah, he's a machine, isn't he?
Yeah.
But when Ian's part of when he did his swim round Britain, I was inspired by that to attempt to be the first person to paddleboard around Great Britain.
Okay.
So
it's paddleboard where you stand on the board.
Stand on it with it and then
with a stick.
A stick, yeah. And I'd never paddleboarded before, but I wanted to show that you didn't need to be the best. You could just give something a go and you'll get better and better. But I tried it in the middle of COVID, and we got I got the whole of the bottom, the whole of the left, and the whole of the top, but I didn't get the right because I got stopped after 149 days.
You got stopped
by COVID lockdown.
Oh, yeah. Right. Fuck.
Yeah. The Scottish First Minister stopped us. We got to John O'Groats in Scotland, and they said, and it was Christmas Eve. It was 23rd of December, 2020. And I paddled 149 days, and I was absolutely broken physically and mentally. Because we're a bit different, I guess, than the swim that Ross did. Because I'm above the waterline fully, as opposed to immersed, every time the wind is going the opposite way, I'm just being pushed backwards I'm like a sail basically.
Yeah. So you are the sail.
You are the sail,
wind's
yeah.
pushing you
So
back,
there was 7 or 8 days I was stuck on beaches because the wind's going that way.
just not moving.
Not moving. I think the worst paddle I did was off the beach of Weymouth on a place called Chesil Beach. And I think I'd paddled for, 6 to 8 hours and I went minus 1.2 mile. It was
went backward.
I went backwards. It was soul destroying. But that was probably, so that's why what he did there to swim around Britain is people, you couldn't even imagine how epic that is, because trying to paddleboard, it was the toughest thing that I ever did in my life.
I can't imagine, man. I mean, Ross Hussars just swam around Iceland.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, incredible. Yeah,
fucking crazy.
He's just
doesn't
an
get the
absolute machine.
recognition he deserves.
No.
Really,
it's incredible feat of endurance and in terms of resilience, because the hardships, especially the ocean, is one of the most brutal places. It's unforgiving. It will throw you and spit you out 100 times a day, and and nobody even sees it.
Yeah, I know. It's fucking horrible. As you say, it's the exposure, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's why you've got to do the weird, wacky things, because people, like Ross, you've got to go swim around. If you've just swam around Britain, what can you do to top that? You've got to push the boundaries further, haven't you?
Yeah.
You've got to go to one of the coldest places and do it.
Yeah, exactly. Fucking crazy. What were your feet like after that Kilimanjaro?
Oh, they were in bits, but actually, the human body, as you know better than me, I'm sure by a long way, it's very adaptable to its environment. And after you've, I guess, almost like muscle memory, you repeat something so many times, it gets used to it quite quickly. And I think for the first 2 or 3 days, they were in bits, but then all of a sudden it builds up quite a hard layer of skin. The biggest risk was actually getting an infection, like cutting your feet and then getting an infection. But we was fine after 2 or 3 days.
Did you get any big cuts or?
No, not really. No, it was
blisters,
just really cold at the top, really cold, because it's like sort of snow and a bit icy on top of it.
So you're walking on ice.
Yeah, at the top it was hot. That was where it was probably the most painful. Yeah.
You have to keep stopping, let your feet warm up.
We were stopping all the time. It was painful for the people. It was probably more painful for the people I was walking with, because I was doing that.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
But that taught me how to fundraise.
Yeah.
So every expedition that I do, like the one now in a few days, Antarctic Odyssey, I treat them like a little business, in the sense that, I need a website, I need a logo for every expedition, and then I need people who are going to be, I guess, your customers, which are sponsors. And then over here, we've got who we're going to fundraise for, and all the media side of how we're going to engage the audiences. But it's just project management, but it's putting wacky ideas into an adventure, really.
So what other things have you done other than Kilimanjaro?
Yeah, we've done Kilimanjaro. We did running dangerously, which was running through the most dangerous countries in the world, running through Iraq, Afghanistan, Somalia.
What, during the wars?
No, well, just in the years that followed. That was 2018.
Okay,
so I did the Afghanistan marathon.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, so running the Afghan marathon. So I always say to people, actually, that...
Is that so all the other Afghans running it as well?
Yeah, a few Afghans.
And you just joined in?
I just signed up and joined in.
And obviously, as a foreign body, you're a target.
Well, yeah, you would argue that, but I had a great time there. It was as I was saying earlier, when I went to I did the Afghanistan marathon. I always say to people, if because you get people who go to the London Marathon and they can't get a place.
Yeah.
So I say, you'll always get a place in the Afghan Marathon. Come and join us. And you'll always get a top 10 finish, because there aren't many people in the Afghan Marathon.
Yeah.
I was number 6 in the Afghan Marathon and number 3 in the Somali. And, it was... it's a great adventure. And actually, when I did the Afghan Marathon in 2018, I saw more acts of kindness and love and compassion from the Afghan people. I didn't spend a penny when I was there. They drove me around, they fed me, they watered me, and I think people can't believe that you've got an ex-British soldier coming to Afghanistan without any security to run in an international marathon, and they were just mesmerized, and they were so kind to me, and it was and people wouldn't believe it again, but it's probably, I would put it up there. I've been lucky to travel most of the world, 130 countries, 7 continents, and I would put Afghan as in my top 3 to 5 as one of the most beautiful countries in the world.
Really?
Yeah, incredible, amazing country.
What's the climate like?
It's quite a variety of climate. You'd think for example, you wouldn't think this. So I got friends there in the UK who go to Afghanistan skiing every year. They have a ski holiday to Afghanistan every year in the Afghan mountains. But then, down in central Afghanistan, you've got one of the most beautiful national parks. big lake. There's a famous picture on the internet because I went swimming in this lake in the central Afghanistan, and there's a famous picture if you put and it's got the Taliban with.
Go on, Sam. We've got a magic Google.
It's Taliban, and they're in like you go on a lake in a park in the UK. And it's got big swans that you would sit in and pedal.
Yeah,
it's got the Taliban with their guns pedaling across this lake.
Where can we find
it'll be Bamiyan province. Bamiyan. So this is the lake here. So this is Afghanistan. I don't know.
Wow.
If
I mean, yeah, you'd say that was like Switzerland.
yeah, literally, yeah. These lakes here, and you could there was literally paddle boards down there, people swimming, like pedalos.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. It's incredible.
The water looks beautiful.
Oh, pristine, untouched.
So that's like melted down from the mountains.
Yeah. Look at that. It's spectacular.
Yeah, wow.
And that's where you run the International Marathon of Afghanistan, which doesn't take place because the Taliban have retook control and they don't let women or children or anyone do sport or education.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But when we were there you go. Look at this.
Jeez, man. Yeah, that looks beautiful.
Oh, amazing.
Is the sun always out as well?
Sun's out a lot, depending on what time of year
so
you
even
go.
though it's cold, like the sun's out, so it's like cold but still t-shirt weather.
Yeah. I was t-shirt shorts running through the Afghan marathon, like a normal marathon. Yeah. Amazing.
That's cool, man.
And you're running around and people want to stop and chat to you, come in for a cup of tea, chai tea or whatever. Beautiful country. I genuinely saw in that Running Dangerously 2018 project more acts of kindness in Afghanistan, Iraq, and Somalia than I've ever seen in this country. Because people, it's important because people think that they're just conflict zones. They're just people full of bad guys or terrorists.
I wouldn't associate Afghanistan with any kinds of kindness.
Yeah.
Or hospitality or anything.
Most hospitable place I've ever been to.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And and that's like one of the challenges. I don't get involved in the politics of immigration or refugees coming across. Not my business, not my world, but not all people in the world are bad people. Most people, in my experience, 95% of the world are decent people. 5% of those people who are bad guys are British. They're in the UK. They're causing dramas on our streets.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what colour you are, what sex you are, what race you are. For me, if you're it's what you said before. It's the dickhead rule. If you're a dickhead, you're a dickhead. It doesn't matter if you're British or you're Afghan or you're Somali or a dickhead's a dickhead.
Yeah. No, fair enough. Okay, so Kilimanjaro, Afghanistan.
Yeah, rowing dangerously. So we did a rowing expedition, which was to row from the first rower from the Horn of Africa to Yemen and back again. So that's across the pirate sort of infested waters.
Yeah,
a big illegal trade smuggling route, lots of crime, terrorism, narcotics.
Did you see a lot of boats with guns on?
No, I didn't. I only saw a couple of boats with guns on. One of them came along claiming they were the Coast Guard at the time, but everyone claims the Coast Guard when they're out there. They took all my GoPros. They left me with one. And that was, I think, because they didn't see it because it was attached to the inside of my sort of boat.
Oh, wow.
But they took cameras, they took my sat phone, and they basically said no, because the security, you shouldn't have this. But they were just a fisherman stroke. Illicit activity taking place. Yeah. And it was, it was really annoying as well. It was really annoying because we were sponsored by a company. Do you know, at the time, the main sponsor was one of these, do you know when you go in the gym and you've got these rowing machines now where you can be taken on a row with the person on the screen, a Peloton where the guy's running
on bikes and stuff. And they rowing with other people in another gym.
Exactly. Well, I was working for this company and they'd come out to Africa, they'd fitted my boat up with, and the idea was I was doing commentary going, come on this row with me. And I was talking all the way through saying, look over here. And the guys had nicked the camera. So when we got back, the team were like, where's all the cameras? And I had to explain to them. And then we had this one GoPro that had basically showed the guys nicking the cameras. And they spent about 50 grand, I think, coming out, and the kit that was all there as well. It was,
wow.
And they unfortunately never worked with us again after that.
Oh yeah, I'm surprised. Jesus. Any other ridiculous things you've done?
15 marathons, 15 days in the 15 national parks of the UK.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
Yeah. One of them I didn't finish. I ended up in hospital on I think it was number 13, the Brecon Beacons one.
What did you do?
just dehydration, exhaustion, not recovering properly, not probably fueling properly, being a bit reckless.
So how long, if you're doing a marathon every day for 15 days, how long would a marathon take you? Because you're going at a slower
Yeah, I was
pace,
going. I'm not fast. People say to me, because the first thing, if you say to someone you're doing a marathon, anyone who runs will say, "What time are you going for?"
Of course.
So I always say, the time of my life. That's what I'm going for. So yeah, God, my marathon times, even on a good day, would be a 4-hour one, but they were taking 6 to 8 hours.
Yes.
Yeah, the Afghan marathon. So I did the Antarctica marathon 5 years ago. That took me nearly 9 hours.
What, running in the
ice, snow,
ice and snow.
Yeah, I've done the Iceland marathon, the Yukon, North America, done Siberia in Russia. Lots of weird, wacky marathons. I did 10 marathons in the 10 coldest places on Earth. Did one in when we couldn't get to the North Pole during COVID, we did one. We did the first marathon on a treadmill in a cryo chamber.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that was quite fun. We called it isolation.
So under pressure, oxygen in there?
No, just the freezing temperatures. Just like
in a cryo.
Cryo, yeah, sorry, yeah.
So just the hyperbaric.
Yeah.
So in a cold chamber.
In a cold chamber, yeah. So it was like, because we were fundraising, we live streamed it on like Facebook Live or whatever. And every time we would hit £1,000, we would go down a degree. And then we said if we got to like, I think it was 10 or 20 grand at the time. If we got to 10 grand, we would do the last minute of the marathon at minus 90, like at the lowest. And we did it. And I was fully wrapped up in that. But then the machine wouldn't work. It started freezing all the mechanics of it.
Yeah, jeez.
But it was again, it was great fun and just trying to be different again, just trying to think outside the box.
But minus 90 is no joke. No fucking joke. As I say, but was that on a treadmill?
On a treadmill, yeah.
The treadmill didn't fucking break.
Well, it was one of those ones, where you have to keep it moving. The curve ones, yeah.
Right, so no electrics.
No, because the electrics wouldn't work in there. So yeah, we had to use them curve ones, and it wouldn't work at that temperature.
Man, you've done some crazy shit. What would you say is like your most dangerous, weird marathon you've done?
Dangerous, weird. I think weird definitely would be the deepest ever underground marathon.
So an underground, what did you do? Run the Dover Channel or something?
Something like that.
What did you do?
It was a project with the Army Cadets for World Mental Health Day in 2020, 10th of October, World Mental Health Day. It was a double world record attempt with Guinness World Records, and we wanted to run the deepest ever underground marathon. But while we were doing that, we had cadets above ground, because the project was called What Happens Beneath the Surface. You never know, because it's mental health.
Yes. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was like, we're going to run a marathon that the cadets don't know about underneath them underground, but they're above ground having the world's biggest ever mental health training session. So there was like 1,600 cadets being trained in mental health awareness and stuff. And then at the end of it, we pop out the other end of this mine, and we'd ran the deepest ever underground marathon. But it was like the Guinness World Record, because you have to have an adjudicator there, like making sure it's all pucker and above board and timed and all this. Yes. We started going down the mine shaft, and it's about 20 minutes in a lift, basically, till you get to where you're going to run at the bottom of this
20
mine.
Minutes down
underground. So from ground level, 20 minutes into the earth in a lift. And then we got about 3 or 4 minutes in, and then quite often, apparently it's quite common, people go, no, this isn't for me, I don't want to go down there.
Yeah, it's too deep.
It's too deep.
How deep are we talking? 20 minutes down?
It was over 1,000 meters beneath the surface, because it's slow moving and that is picking people up on different levels. It's over, I think it was 1,050 meters. We had to break the world record, it had to be over 1,000 meters, which was, so we did 1,050 meters. And we had to wear, the helmet, the boots and all the rig, the high vis and all that. And we got down there, we got halfway down, and the Guinness World Records guy said, nope. So we had to go back up, and then we had to change it, because then we had to film it. So we had the evidence that we had done it. We hadn't just sat down underground for a few hours saying we'd done it. And because of the safety risk as well, the cameras had to be certain inspection, because it could cause sparks, and we weren't allowed to wear electronics, and there was all these special rules around it at the time. Anyway, so it took quite a long time to get it done, because the Guinness guy wouldn't come down. So we had to film it all, and then in the end, we had to basically just do a section of the mine, because of signal on the camera and stuff. So it was basically running up and down about 1 million times, this one stretch.
Okay, yeah.
In like darkness in a mine with a head torch on and all this sort of stuff. And it was probably the hardest thing that I've ever done, because it was about 40 degrees down there. You're wearing all this kit. And I remember getting cramp at I think it was about 18 mile, because I did it actually in the middle of this Great British Paddle. I stepped off my paddleboard for one day because it was World Mental Health Day to help the cadets. So I was in Dublin. I'd pulled up on my paddleboard and the cadets flew me to Middlesbrough to do this 1 day mental health Guinness World Record and then fly back out. So I'd not even ran for 4 months. I'd just been stood still on a paddleboard. So I'd done like no training at all. And I got to 17 mile and I started going man down seriously. And I remember, I think it was the first time as an adult that I've ever cried from pain, you know, like proper crying. Oh, I can't go on. And I remember the medic came over saying, "You all right?" And he said, "What's the matter?" I said, "I got a cramp in my calf." And the cramp was like, it was a golf ball in my calf that you could see. Yeah. And he started trying to like break it down, whatever it is, the acid or whatever it was. Yeah. And he's like breaking it down, and I was screaming so loud down this mine. And I remember this, he was an ex-Royal Marine medic, the guy who worked for the mining company. And he's going, "Yeah, you're going to have to sack it off, mate. You're going to have to knock it on the head." And I remember him saying that to me. He kept repeating it. And it's what spurred me. I was like, not a chance that I'm having you tell me I'm pulling out of this. And then I got up and I like hobbled across the line, but I think it was like 8 hours, 36-minute marathon.
Fuck me.
But it was one of the hardest things I've ever done, I think, because I'm just not trained.
Not trained, but also to think of all the kit on and you just overheated maybe?
Yeah, overheated maybe, but sweated. But I just think, I probably shouldn't have done it just because of just not running I've not even walked for 4 months. I've just been stood on a paddleboard.
That's fucking crazy. I mean, that's fucking nuts.
Yeah, and the record just got broken last week by Bear Grylls' team at Becoming X. He had a corporate team go out and they found a mine in Germany, which was like more than 1,050 meters. So they've just set 2 new records, so it was there for 5 years. So unfortunately,
they did a marathon in that one, did they?
Yeah, they broke our record.
Copying bastards.
I know, yeah.
Hey? Fucking come up with your own ideas, Bear Grylls. So these marathons that you did, is there any like moments during these marathons, like through Afghanistan or whatever, where you thought, "Fuck, I'm in trouble here. It's going to go south"?
Yeah, no. I think we had one in Somalia. I went to Somalia to do the Somali marathon, and there was a bomb had gone off in Somalia while we were there. So we actually decided to move north to a place called Somaliland, which is a really interesting place. So in Somalia, in the north of Somalia, you have like a whole country that the world doesn't recognize. So it's not recognized by anyone in the world except for itself.
Okay.
It's got its own flag, its own government.
What's this country called?
It's called Somaliland. So it's like a self-declared independent state.
That's quite interesting.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting.
Okay, Somaliland.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, well, Google recognizes it. Officially, the Republic of Somaliland is an unrecognized state of the Horn of Africa. It is located the southern coast of the Gulf of Aden and bordered by Djibouti.
So that's where I built the school.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
To the northwest. So it's got like its own.
It's got its own. So you go there. It's got its own airport. It's got its own flag. Its own visa. Its own currency. Its own government.
Wow.
But originally it was part of Somalia that broke away. To the rest of the world, it's just classed as Somalia.
Yeah. Wow.
So, but you go there, and but I went there basically because in Somalia, in the capital Mogadishu, a bomb had gone off, and it was just too dangerous to go and do the marathon there. So what Heidi said, "Well, let's go to Somaliland." And we went on this crazy adventure, me and this camera guy, up to Somaliland, and it was epic. It was just like this undiscovered world that.
Yeah.
And what's quite interesting is so when we got up there, we had like a British flag or something on us, and everybody up there, it's where like Mo Farah's family, cousins and uncles are living now.
Right.
So everyone up there, everyone was claiming to be Mo Farah's brother. And then I sent the information through a friend to Mo Farah, and he was saying, yeah, it's one of the most amazing parts of the world. Thank you for visiting. He sent me a video and that.
Wow.
And it was the most incredible place. I had the best time ever up there.
Fuck. That sounds fucking great.
Yeah, and it just came out of this like adversity.
What's the currency? Do you remember? What does it look like?
So what's really interesting, the currency. So the bank, because they don't have, it's like a pound is like a millionaire. You got like £50 notes, but like stacked high is £1.
Right,
It's like a pound. And when you go in the street, if you like, have a Google on Somaliland bank street bankers. So you're walking down the market and there's people. The bank is just a crate, like a forklift crate, stacked high with notes.
Yes.
And then you go up to them and you say, can you look after this or can you change this?
Yeah.
But you'd think you was on like Millionaires Row, but it's just all these money just stacked in the streets.
Pennies worth.
Yeah, but it's all worth nothing.
Yeah.
But it's just crates and crates of note money. It's a very, very surreal place.
Did it look like it'd been printed pretty good?
No, it was all like, it looked like hundreds of years, it looked like ancient money. Really dirty money.
Gone in and like printed their own cash. And...
Probably, yeah. So it looked like this. There you go. Look at that. That's the bank in the street.
Oh, wow. Can you bring up a note? Like an actual banknote? I'm intrigued. Like, who's on it? Is it the King of Somaliland or what? 5,000 Somaliland. It just, honestly, for those listening in, it just looks like a primary school has had a contest to like design your own banknote, and they've just drawn it. What, you're about to tell me off something there, Sam?
No, how much it's worth?
$8.
So 5,000 Somaliland shillings is worth $8.
Yeah, so you go in, you got $5,000 there, but it's just worth...
And from memory, are things quite cheap? Because like you go to Thailand, you can get...
No, yeah, really. Like you can buy, I think it was like 20p for a can of Coke or something like that.
Okay,
yeah.
So, yeah.
But obviously when they see the Westerner coming in from the UK, they just see money and, everything...
Price. Yeah. It happens everywhere, don't it?
Yeah.
You ever been in Egypt?
Yeah.
They are bastards.
Yeah, the worst for it, yeah.
Fucking bastards.
I used to, when we were on the ships, we used to go in and out of Egypt because it's where the Suez Canal is where the end of our journeys would be. And I always remember Egyptian customs, because we'd go through like the big bumper passports. I'd go through like 2 a year or something, because we were just like bang, 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 bang all the time.
Yeah.
And I remember, because we'd see the Egyptian customs, you'd open it up and theirs is like a square half-page stamp. It's a sticker. And if you didn't put $5 in your passport, it would go bang in the middle. Whereas, so you could normally have like 3 to 6. They'd put it right across diagonal if you didn't put a tip in his passport, just so you couldn't use those pages.
Wow.
Every time without fail.
Fucking hell. Jeez, that's really cool. Like, you made me want to go and visit
Somaliland. Hey, you should do. It's an amazing place.
Yeah.
Very, very safe as well. Very safe. Very clean. Very safe. And the marathon, do you know what was amazing as well? The marathon finished and started in the Somaliland football stadium. So I'm not an elite runner or a super athlete, but I'm running with all these locals, and there's all the crowd in the stadium cheering like 20,000 people, like you're in the Olympics or something.
Really?
Yeah. Half of them haven't got shoes. Half of the people haven't got shoes on, running barefoot.
Man, that sounds fucking great. Well, I've never heard of that. That sounds fucking awesome. Any other places like that you've come across?
There's some amazing places out there in the world. Djibouti's another one. It's another amazing place. That's next door neighbour. I go there every year.
Next door to
Somaliland, Djibouti, yeah. Not many people have ever heard of Djibouti, but it's a tiny little country. Interesting about Djibouti, considering no one's really heard of it, it's got the biggest American military base there in Africa.
All right, okay.
Yeah, so it's a bit like it's a safe place, but surrounded by countries that have been at conflict and war for quite a long time. So it's a bit of like what we would call a FOB, a forward operating base for a military. So they're in Africa, so they can bounce to any countries, because it's all fast jets and pilots based there, fighter jets. But it's just across the water from Yemen and Iraq and Afghanistan and all that sort of stuff. So it's a fascinating country.
Man, it sounds like you had just this fucking insane life of opportunity, travel, experiences.
Yeah, you're definitely very lucky, very, very privileged in that sense. But work very hard for it. I certainly haven't come from any money or have any money either.
Yeah. Well, apart from when you're doing that private security.
Yeah, hell. They were the good days. They were the heydays.
They don't exist anymore, do jobs like that, do they?
No. But I used the time wisely, because I paid me mortgage off from the security days.
Yeah.
So it's like, for me, I don't have any debts or bills. I've paid me. It's not, I live in a very humble, small house, but everything I get just goes to doing adventures and travel. It's my bare tokens, if you
live like a king.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Tell me a little bit about mental health, mate. What's your experiences with it? And
yeah, it's been a tough journey with mental health. I've spent a lot of time in therapy with counsellors, with psychiatrists, psychotherapists. But a lot of it doesn't come from the military or anything like that. It comes from just the everyday, excuse the language, shit that we go through. I think for me, breaking up with the mother of my daughter was is 10 years ago now, but that sent me on a bit of a spiral. I think when I worked in private security, I was in a mindset of chasing the gold rush, chasing the bigger houses, the faster car. And I neglected my family at the time for that. And that's what I paid the ultimate sacrifice for that. I came home one day and the missus at the time, I was with her for over 10 years or whatever. And she said, no, she warned me month after month, year after year. She said, you got to stop doing this. Because I was getting on a boat for like 3-4 months at a time, you know, and then when I wasn't on a boat, all around the Indian Ocean where we would wait for the next boat, it's like the Seychelles, Mauritius, it's Dubai. You're surrounded by glitz and glamour, and then when the social media came along, you're in bars, you're in nightclubs, and your missus is at home and looking after you, you know. So
sounds like my fucking. If I go on a work trip, yeah, I could go for a fucking 20-day work trip, work my dick off for 19 and a half days. I have half a day to relax. Might put a little picture on my story.
Yeah, exactly.
You motherfucker, you've been on a holiday for 20 fucking days. I've been slaving away with the kids.
That's what it's like though, isn't it? You show a glimpse.
Fucking vein in my life.
But then as I learn, when you're older, as you get older, you learn, well, don't post that picture from that one night.
Yeah, I'm learning. I'm still learning. Yeah. But I feel you.
It's a tough lesson. And unfortunately, like a lot of people, I've learned the biggest lessons the hard way. And I think to know when you've got a child and to know that you're, you know, as the dad of my daughter, that I, for the last 10 years, have not been the guy who lives in her house and isn't the one that tucked her in or said goodnight. I think that cuts you quite deep, that you can't be there every day.
Yeah.
And you haven't got that privilege. But then I go back to it was my fault. And I think for many years I dwelled on that. And I think people who've gone through any sort of challenge like that, you get in this horrible cycle of thinking about what you could have done better, what you shoulda, coulda, and all that, and that's not healthy or helpful. And it'll destroy you and eat you alive internally if you focuses on what you should have and could have done. So it took me a long time to learn that all you can do is take the lessons of the past and hopefully try and apply them to your future. That's all we can do with the things that we've got wrong. And I've been no angel, not perfect, far from it. But hopefully learned a lot and a better human for it in the end. But it sent me to some pretty dark thoughts and dark places, and wanting to not be here anymore. And then I've been many times into therapy and counselling and still take medication today. So if you'd have asked me like 10 years ago about anxiety, I'd have thought it was like what lazy people who couldn't be bothered go to work was, but actually it's quite a crippling illness if it takes over your body. It's scary. It's like somebody pinning you down and suffocating you, and you can't get out your bed. But so I have my own struggles, but we all do. I'm not looking for any sympathy or anything. I would also say it's very easy to be a victim if you want to be a victim. It's almost like a mindset. If you've been hard done to by somebody, or you feel sorry for yourself, it's not a good place to be. So I try to never be a victim. I don't want anyone to feel sorry for me. I don't want to feel sorry for myself, because it's not helpful. And if you've got a victim mindset, you carry a chip on your shoulder everywhere you go. So I think you've got to have a bit of I say, don't be a victim, be a victor. Be stronger because of the things that you've faced and the things that you're going through, and use them to move forward. But it's sometimes easier said than done. But we've got to take fuel from know that tomorrow's going to be a better day. I never quit today. Stay in the game, whatever you're going through, because normally a decent night's sleep and you feel better.
Yeah, well, that's true. So would you say it was all stemmed when you split with the daughter's mum?
Yeah, I think that's where it stemmed from. And I think also I've had a lot of probably toxic traits, like we talked about earlier with ADHD. I think I used to say I am very selfish, and I would always live life on my terms. And that's how I would justify it. But actually, what I've come to learn is that if I've got a plan in my head and I'm on a mission, there's nothing that's going to get in my way. I'm quite relentless in pursuit of a goal. And I think now I've learned to okay, that's fine. When you're in Antarctica or whatever it is that you're doing, you can be in the zone, but the moment you come back, you've got to step out of the zone and give time to your family, your loved ones, and be in their zone. And that's what I've come to learn. Because sometimes it's hard when you're working all day, then, you know, especially when you're dealing with sponsors and you're dealing with media, you get home and the first thing you do then is get the laptop out and you're replying to all the emails and it's just a never-ending cycle. But at the same time, it's brought me great opportunities. It's given me lots of things in life. So, you know, if it's a recipe that works.
The thing is, I think a lot of this stems back to ADHD. And it's, you know, you've got to keep busy. You've got to keep moving forward. And the second you're not, and the second you are on holiday with the family is when you kind of like, that's when you feel yourself letting go. You feel you feel worthless. You feel, I don't know. Like,
no, it's true. That's true. I agree with that completely.
And I think that maybe.
Do you know, when I come back from an expedition, after like this one now, Antarctic Odyssey, I've been training for 18 months, preparing, traveling the world, doing different mountains at different altitudes in cold weather survival courses, dealing with sponsors, media and all that. And then I know I'm preparing myself mentally, not now for the expedition, but for the moment it finishes. Because that is like a drop off a cliff for me. It's like all this has worked to this, and you know, you get to the peak, and then what? So what? And then it's like, bang, I need to have a new plan now. What's next?
Yeah, so you've sort of been a victim to yourself of keeping yourself busy, pushing yourself into these scenarios, work.
I'm a workaholic. I love it though. It's not like work when you love it, is it?
But you've, in some respects, pushed away some people that you love.
I pushed lots of them away, good people as well. People who I have a lot of respect for and, you know, don't speak to anymore, but people who I let down really in many ways. But then, you know, on the other side of that, I've been with a partner for nearly 2 years who's a lot more like me. So she knows I'm in the zone because she goes in her zone and she's doing her thing. So she's not somebody who needs me 100%. Someone said to me recently, actually, that when you're in a relationship, you're never both going to be at 100%, but collectively you should be at 100%. So when one of you's at like 30% and feel low, the other one needs to be at 70 to bring you up, and vice versa. And you know, because if you're both low, it's a pretty difficult place to be. And I sort of try to I think about that quite a lot. And my missus is great; she'll pick me up when I feel down, and hopefully vice versa.
Oh, that's nice to hear.
Yeah, well, it's only 2 years, you know. I've messed up longer relationships than that in the past.
It's just interesting, though, isn't it? You know, life's a constant chase of the endorphins.
It is,
essentially, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think as an ADHD, you're constantly looking for those hits.
Yes.
You know, it's something that you thrive off. Those quick hits is the endorphins. I need to be doing and feeling good and having purpose all the time.
Can you take a week off? Can you have 2 weeks off? Can you go on holiday?
I can't. For me, it'd be my worst nightmare to lie on a beach or something. Yeah, I've tried it loads. I've been on holiday with a missus and she'll be lying there on the beach and I'll be 10 minutes later, I've got to go and find a bloody jet ski or a bloody paraglider or something.
Got to do something.
Got to do something.
No, I get you. It is interesting that it's ADHD. It's such a, I'm not going to say a toxic trait because it's not toxic, is it? It's such a beneficial trait to a lot of people.
Yeah, I think you've got to understand it and how it works in your life to be able to exploit the benefits from it. Yeah. Otherwise, but it's definitely not a negative. It's just it's a power that you can harness.
I've got a son who was diagnosed with ADHD and dyspraxia and whatever. It wasn't until he was diagnosed that I actually took a step back and looked at myself.
Yeah.
And then did a little bit of research on it and be like, wow.
Yeah,
fuck.
Tick. I've got all them.
But some of the shit I did in my youth and the relationships that I fucked up in the past, and it's like, fuck, yeah. You take a long, hard look at yourself.
You do. And that's important, though, that I think what you say there is because actually you do all these stupid things and you make all these stupid mistakes in your life. But at some point, I think for me, you have to look in the mirror and you can't hide from it. You know, you've got to address all the things that you don't like about yourself, all the shit that you've got wrong, all the mistakes you've made. And that's quite a hard place to go to if you're going to really go to there and say, I don't want to be that person. I'm not happy with these things or these decisions. But I think a lot of people aren't prepared to do the hard yards, to look in the mirror and truly address it and acknowledge the stuff that they don't like about themselves. Because we've all got faults, we've all got issues. But you gotta work hard to address those.
You got to let that ego go.
Yeah, absolutely.
And take a look at yourself sometimes. I perhaps, I mean, look, I've sort of come to terms with it, but I think I need to go and get a diagnosis myself to sort of help me understand it a bit more, because there's some days where I'm so high and then so low, and so high and so low.
Well, I'm never in the middle.
Yeah,
I'm either really high or because I had checked for bipolar and all sorts in the test in the past, because I thought I'm either top of the world or feeling like rubbish.
Yeah,
I'm never
like a manic depression.
I'm never like just plain sailing.
No, I get you. So let's talk about this up and coming challenge that you're doing now. Another expedition to fill this void. The Antarctica. So what's this? What is it? A mountain you've got your eye on, or?
So Antarctic Odyssey 2025 is I guess it's a pioneering expedition to attempt to climb at least one, hopefully more, mountains that nobody's ever touched before. So they're unnamed, they're unexplored, and they're unclimbed. So we're going to the coldest, the windiest.
So still to this day, there are mountains that people haven't climbed.
Yeah, but plenty of them in Antarctica. It's just that nobody goes to Antarctica. It's so remote and it's so cold.
Yeah.
Minus 44 this morning at the South Pole. Minus 62 with wind chill.
Minus 62 with fucking wind chills. Fuck my life.
Yeah.
And you know it's going to be windy there.
It's going to be windy. It's going to be cold. There's not going to be any shops, or I'll be living in a tent for the next 6 or 7 weeks.
Might be a daft question, but does it have seasons? Does it is it cold all year round? Does it slightly warmer at certain times of the year?
Yeah, so I'm going there in the summer now.
So it'll be even colder in the summer winter.
Yeah, so now it's probably averaging about minus 20 average.
Okay.
Some days it'd be a lot colder, but in the winter it'll be even colder. But what's interesting as well right now in the summer is it's 24 hours daylight. So there's no night, which plays with your body quite a bit.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's always sun.
The sun's always shining.
But it's so fucking clean down there, isn't it? Hardly any clouds.
Literally pristine most of the time. Yeah.
That must be lovely.
So
even though it is so fucking cold, do you reckon you could wear a t-shirt and shorts and feel all right in that kind of weather?
Yeah. I did the Antarctica Marathon in 2020.
Yeah.
You're absolutely fine running. Shorts and t-shirt, cover your ears and your toes and your hat and that.
Yeah,
but your body, your main core is all right until you stop. Yes. And then it goes cold very quickly.
Yeah.
And it's just about knowing your body, regulating your body temperature. As soon as you stop banging on loads of down jackets and layers, making sure all your skin's covered so you don't get frostbite. Because I'll be pulling all my kit as well. So as well as doing the climb.
A sled.
Yeah, a sled or a puck.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'll be pulling that to the mountains. And then I'll change it. So I'm going from ski gear for a few weeks into climbing gear.
Fucking hell, man. So you're gonna trek with a sledge to a mountain.
Yeah.
Get all kitted up, conquer that mountain, come back down and
then find another one, hopefully.
Fucking hell. How long are you planning on staying out there for?
So I'll leave in the next 24 hours, 48 hours, and then I'm trying to get back before Christmas Eve. Yeah. So the missus will go mad if I'm not.
So you're going out there for a good 40 days.
Yeah.
Fuck, what the fuck is wrong with you? Fuck my what? Why?
Why not? Why not?
Are you going with a team? Or?
I'll meet another bloke down in South America this week who will be my climbing partner.
Okay. And do you film each other doing all this stuff?
Yeah, so that's the good thing about having someone with you is I've just actually bought this week, a set of those Oakley Meta.
Yeah, the Meta Oakley. Yeah.
So I've just got a set of them so hopefully it'll be great if I can capture climbing to the top of a peak that no one's ever seen.
Have they been tested to those sort of temperatures?
No. So I spoke with Meta and Oakley, and they basically can't guarantee because no one's been there. So that's why they wouldn't sponsor us, because they can't guarantee the work.
Yeah, because that is batteries just give up,
Yeah, so I'll be taking all my batteries will be solar panels. I've got big solar panels. I've got a Starlink internet thing to take down with me.
Oh, right. So you will get
I'm going to try and broadcast live from the top peak on Instagram, Facebook and that.
Fucking, that's amazing.
I think if it works, we'll see.
Fuck, that sounds fucking great.
So, yeah.
What are you anticipating? Mountains you climbed before, similar or easier or what?
I don't really know because of the ice and a lot of glaciers and things. You know, we'll be doing a lot of risk assessments because the danger is like crevasses. You know, like the big cracks in the ice that you can drop down that you can't see the bottom of.
So covered by snow.
Covered by snow that you step on. So we'll be going really slowly. You know, I think psychologically more than physically, it's more of a mental battle. It'll be, and the solitude of being in the middle of nowhere, a million miles away from anyone.
Well, it's just scary, man. So how are you getting there?
So it's a long journey to get there I go to Madrid, then off to South America, Chile, Santiago, Punta Arenas, which is like the southern tip of Chile, and then I'll fly in with all my kit to Antarctica.
What? What?
You know, I probably won't get there to Antarctica actually on the ice for probably another week.
Where did you fly to first?
First to Madrid in Spain.
Okay.
And then Santiago, which is in Chile. And then when you get to Santiago, if you
go Spain.
Yeah.
Okay, which is okay. So okay.
So when you get to Chile, if you go right as far as you can go south in Chile to the tip of Chile, you'll see a place called Punta Arenas.
Right, so it is really, proper South America.
Yeah.
And that's the closest point to the South Pole, the very south.
Well, it's where people, if you're going into Antarctica by plane, you typically go from Punta Arenas or from a place called Ushuaia in Argentina. Uh-huh. But Punta Arenas is where I'm going from, which is there right down the bottom.
Fucking A. Okay. There's about 40 hours flying.
Yeah.
At least.
Probably. With
delays and with layovers and everything. So how long is it going to take you to actually get there?
I reckon till I get to Antarctica, because I've got to get to Punta Arenas, so I've got to pack all my kit.
Right.
So I reckon fly out, got to be probably almost a week till I get to Antarctica.
You reckon it'll take you 7 days?
Yeah, probably 5 days.
By the time you've got Chile and doing all your kit.
About 5 days, yeah, maybe.
Wow.
Yeah.
So 40 hours traveling. That's like on the plane. Yeah. That's fucking nuts.
And I've got 4 massive bags that I've got to cart around.
That's fucking nuts. And then where is there an airport in the Antarctica?
No airport, just a piece of ice that you land on.
So when you private jet it?
Well, private, but not in the sense of a private jet. In a basically a normal aeroplane that has been chartered. Yeah.
Yeah. So you would have to charter that because that can't be a very common trip.
There'll be other explorers, you know, like going to the South Pole and things. So it's so to get a seat on that plane is about 20 grand.
Fucking hell. So you not only spend a week getting there, but it's going to cost you about 25
just
grand.
To do that one, yeah.
25 grand in total to fucking get there.
Well, the expedition itself's costing about 150.
Fucking hell. Who's paying for that?
Sponsors.
Good fucking job. Jesus.
150,000 in expedition fees.
That is fucking nuts.
Yeah, it is. I could buy my first house in Blackpool was 1/3 of that price.
That's crazy, man.
That's what you see on the picture there. That's
right. Okay. So where you land to there? How do you get there?
I'm going to land next to that. And it's just a piece of flat. It's just ice that has been scraped.
Yeah. Okay. Right, so you're landing there, and then where's this expedition you're doing?
They look quite close there, but they're not. But in those mountains there, but to the southern edge of those mountains. All around there, yeah.
Okay, and they're all pretty much undiscovered.
Not all of them, no. There's a few that have been discovered.
Okay, and you've picked some that are what, harder, easier, or just loot?
Well, we haven't picked any yet. We're going to go down there and have a look what's been climbed already and what hasn't.
So when you climb a mountain, isn't it tradition that you name it?
So interestingly, it's the only place in the world that you can't name it.
What? Fuck off.
Yeah.
Why?
Because Antarctica, unlike countries, is owned by, it's administered by the Antarctica Treaty, which is about 100 countries. So, like, if it was in a country, you would have the rights from that country.
There's always a fucking cunt. There's always a cunt, isn't there, trying to ruin the fun for everybody. Or in this case, 100 cunts.
Well, we'll name it anyway, but it'll go in the book, but it'll all be unofficial. So it will be registered that I climbed it in the book.
Okay. So what are you going to name these mountains?
I don't know. What do you reckon?
I don't know. You could do your daughter's name as one.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Maybe Eddie Hall as another.
Beast.
Yeah, Beast Mountain. That's got a nice ring to it. Is there a Beast Mountain in the world, Sam? Has anyone ever named a mountain Beast Mountain?
There will be in 40 days' time.
If you get there.
Yeah. Thanks for your faith, Eddie.
So 150 grand is paid for via sponsors. Surely there's other ways, like you must be getting more fundraising in and like charity work and do you do this for charity, you raise funds for charity? Like,
so so basically it has two streams to it. One is paying for the expedition, which sits in with sponsors, corporate sponsors, and then the other side to it is raising 100,000 for Army Cadet charity. Generally with these things, the money goes up while you're doing it, as long as you can be blogging and vlogging.
Make it vocal.
Yeah.
You see that thing, Paddy McGuinness, he did I can't remember what route it was, but he did it on an old...
I think I've seen that,
Raised something like fucking 15 million or
incredible, isn't it? When you've got like...
Fucking insane.
The mainstream media or radio, a big radio show on it, it's powerful.
Yeah, the BBC can do some good when they want to.
With regards to sponsorship, for me, it's like, firstly, I've got to find brands that want to support weird, wacky, wild adventures around the world. But typically, I try and align them with the charitable cause. So I'm working with, do you know Dino Rod?
Yes.
So Dino Rod are my headline partner this year.
I've had Dino Rod a few times out to my house.
There we go.
Because my son cannot help himself. He can't just have a shit and wipe his arse once. He has to wipe his arse
and block the toilet
50 fucking times. I don't know what the fuck. He must have a shit, wipe his arse, have another shit, wipe his arse again. Yeah, I've had him out quite a few times now. So
hopefully he did a great job for you, Dino Rod.
Well, they unblocked the drains.
There we go. So Dino Rod have supported us this year, and it's been amazing because they want to help Army Cadets. So we're going from the sewers to the summit, Eddie, this year. See what we did there?
Very good. Very good.
And I've got the Dino Duck. In fact, I've brought one with you. I've got one in my bag, a Dino Duck, which is the mascot.
Oh, brilliant.
So you've got your own Dino Duck. You can put it next to your toilet.
I've spent so much money with him, I feel like I deserve a Dino Duck.
You have? Yeah. Brilliant. So they're doing great work in the communities because they're helping cadets. So it's great to fly their flag around the world, and I'll be planting a Dino Rod flag in Antarctica.
Brilliant.
But for me, I've just got to find companies that share the same values. They want to do some good, but help young people. So Dino Rod have been amazing. But of course, corporates want something in return. People don't just give you money for the sake of it. So you spend a lot of time doing things like corporate talks for their conferences. Obviously walking around like a bit of a billboard sometimes with different patches on my jackets and what have you. But that's fine. That's great because they're helping me achieve my goals and dreams. Anyone who wants to help, that's amazing.
Have you got like a website or a page people can go to?
Yeah, jordanwylie.org. All the different brands are on there. Huel as well. I know you've done some work with Huel. Huel have a great program this year called the Limit Seekers Project. So Huel have supported us both financially and with product over the last year.
Brilliant.
Which is amazing. Yeah. So we'll be flying the flag for Huel while we're out there. Nice. I like what they're doing. They're supporting people who are trying to push the boundaries of physical and mental endurance. So it's brilliant to be working with them. We've done some good content and stuff.
Cool, man. So jordanwylie.org.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, if we can share that and anyone wants to support, are great.
jordanwylie.org, people. Have you got any advice for anyone trying to get into this game of expeditions, cadets, raising money?
Yeah, I think just go for it. But I try to share what I call my ABC rule. I'm a simple guy. I'm from Blackpool. ABC rule. First for me is attitude. I think it doesn't matter what qualifications you have in this world. It doesn't matter what experience you have. If you've got a good, positive attitude and you're a young person, the world's your oyster. People will give you a chance if you've got a good attitude. They'll take a chance on you. They'll support you as long as you remain positive and, do your best. Give 100% if you get the chance. But I also think opportunities are everywhere, Eddie. I think they're all around us all the time, but they're not going to jump out at you and say, I'm an opportunity. You've got to put them together. You've got to, you got to cross the T's, dot the I's and be creative sometimes. B is for build relationships. I love meeting people because meeting people often leads to new opportunities. Always treat everyone with respect, always, shake their hand, look them in the eye, call them sir, be polite, respectful. Unless they're of another ilk. And C is for continued professional development. C for me is continued professional development. C for you, I know, is something different.
The C word.
The C word. But it's about never stopping learning. There's always a chance to learn from people. There's people out there who are smarter, wiser, have done the things that we want to do. So always be prepared to listen as well. So ABC, attitude, build relationships, believe in yourself, and continue professional development. Or the other C word for you.
Don't be a cunt. It's a great saying, I like to you. Right then, Jordan, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
You've been absolutely awesome. Really opened up to us, made yourself vulnerable. I
appreciate it.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Right then, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up today's episode of The Good, The Bad, and The Beast. JordanWylie.org. Head over to there if you want to support one of his expeditions. But it's always nice to sit here and listen to people's stories, the highs, the lows, the hardships, and it's always nice to see them sitting here in front of me, blossoming in life, and still lots to do. And I'm gonna have thorough enjoyment watching Jordan do these expeditions from now on and hearing these stories. Hopefully we'll get him back on in the future, and he'll have a mountain called Beast Mountain. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Big love, the Beast. Take care.